Girl,
Hello, hello.
hello. Every time I see the
Hi.
blood dripping out of the girl's mouth, I have to be like, God, it's so creepy. What's up, Susan?
Nothing much. I have to tell you a story.
Okay, I'm ready. I love your stories.
So I was at one of those spas, and I was like, why don't I just get, my lips infused, filled to get the kind of like, Angelina Jolie kind of look. Not like like the balloons that we see, but kind of like a
Mhm.
fat look. So anyway, so I go, and everything turns out all right. But I think I went a little crazy. I think went a little crazy.
Are you saying you got fillers or something?
Yeah.
Bring your face to the camera.
See, it's like lopsided, and it's kind of like a little crazy. So
You better get your money back.
I know. I fooled you. So this is the actual story. So,
You're an ass.
but you know what though? I kind of this look. I may end up getting fillers though. I don't know. But here's the actual story. So I slipped on a slippery floor, hit my right side of my mouth right on the concrete. Had
Mm.
to go to the emergency room, so now it's like half distorted and it's pussing, and it's just a big mess. But my teeth are okay. I have to keep on going to get checkups every now and then just to make sure that my tooth is okay. Particularly one is like really sensitive. Um, but overall, I'm on antibiotics, so that's why I'm not drinking. And I'd rather be the have go down the route of the fillers, but unfortunately, no. That's what happened to me.
I mean, it probably would have been worse if you got fillers. You really can't notice it. But then again,
Well,
let me text you later when I'm watching this back on the big screen.
I mean, you can't. On this side here, it's like one lip is up, one lip is down, and then I kind of had to put like a lip liner on the bottom because it was like my top lip is completely covering my lower lip, so it's like I don't have a
Oh,
lower lip. But
oh wow. You should
I
have just
mean, but it's I'm good. It's all good. I just feel bad because I had to cancel Laura's podcast because I was scheduled to be on her show, and it happened that same day. So
yeah. That's crazy because that night before, my stepson Jaden was going in his room to go to bed and he slipped on his carpet and smacked his mouth on the dresser and cut his lip and his teeth are okay. So, you know me, I'm a believer that things happen in threes. So I'm like, who's going to cut their lip next?
great. Yeah, that's me. That's
Hopefully they
me.
don't lose their teeth. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello, hello. There's a couple of new people that I haven't seen before. Blame Nikki B. Hello, welcome, welcome.
Thy
Spectral.
420 witch is new.
Ooh, Spectral Whispers is new.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome. We got
Welcome, guys.
Wisdom.
Wisdom, thank you so much again for that
Ah,
song. I had a great time doing
that
that
was an
video.
awesome song. That was awesome.
You know, I
Laura's in the
couldn't
house.
I couldn't think I thought, "What am I gonna do to this video to make it special?" And then when that wiki part came in, I was like, "Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll rap that verse." Like, I'll lip sync it. And then it wasn't
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out too good. So then I just, like, looked behind me and I just started grabbing my equipment like, "Doo doo 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 doo," and people are just like, "God, Angelina with the REM pod. That was so funny." But the funniest thing is supposed to be Cody Satori, not me. But it was a great track, Wisdom. It was a great track.
I know. I almost died laughing when I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, what do we have? What's going to come our way?
The bell at the end. I was like, I don't know. I that was and some of the things I did, like the bell thing, that was a plug to like Ghost Stop. Like, don't
Yeah,
buy their
yeah.
$80 million
Yeah,
bell. Here's a $5 bell that has no electronics in it. So, other
yeah.
than busting your lip, how you been doing, girl?
I've been doing good. I definitely want to, spring, summer comes, I want to get out there more and do investigations. I just don't want to
Yep.
just have people see me on the podcast. I want to be out there as well.
Yep.
Like I was with Victor Santiago at the Murdoch Whitney House last Saturday. So we had a really good
Enjoyed
time.
that. I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So yeah, definitely want to be out there more spring, summer.
yeah, we're gonna get out there and we're gonna film and do what we gotta do and go capture whatever we can capture, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
I mean, I have been slowly going through our footage of the Oliver House because, I put up part 1, kinda just the tour with
yeah,
Christy.
yeah.
Ooh, excuse me. So, I'm going through our footage, and I'm hearing things that are actually being validated. Like, all of a sudden, we're downstairs in the kitchen, I hear a man or something, and then you're like, "I hear a man." Christina's like, "I hear that," and it's like 3 people, and then I'm watching the footage back, and clear as day, you can hear it over the heating system that was on. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my toughest struggle is fighting over that heating system without having to clean up the background noise. I have to leave that in there. But girl, I'm catching a lot of stuff, you
Yeah,
know? If it's paranormal, I don't know, but it's kinda like, where did that come from? Like, yeah, I know I promised people it would be out soon, but there is so much footage. I know we were only there for 3, 4 hours,
yeah,
but I got like 9 hours of footage because I had those cameras everywhere.
yeah,
But yeah, girl, I can't it's a lot, but we
yeah,
got some stuff.
yeah,
And I'm not even
definitely.
done. I think I got 12 more to go through. I've only gone through 3 or 4, so
And you know the
it's
funny
coming out.
thing, all of my stuff died. I had my
Yeah,
camera. No, I was doing mainly on my phone, and I had the camera and the video recorder, and then I went the other day to look for the footage and it was all gone. I have no
that's crazy.
idea. That's
And
crazy.
it's crazy because on every piece of footage I have 16 memory cards, I think,
Yeah,
and every piece of footage, you can hear the REM pod going off when we're
yeah,
not in the dining room. But then when we get to the dining room, I have footage there, and it's not going off.
yeah,
So it's like I'm trying to decipher what the hell is going on. So between figuring out and debunking and having to go back and forth, I think it's gonna be another couple weeks before I get that out. But it's
yeah.
coming. It's coming. It's coming. People saw that one of when I was walking and you could hear like 4 knocks as I'm walking, and now they want more. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell were those 4 knocks
Hmm.
at the same time as I'm walking. But yeah, so that's gonna come out soon. So if
Yeah,
people
yeah,
keep asking, it's coming. It's just taking me some time. I'm one
yeah.
person.
Yeah, and I still have to, even though I was live, I still want to put something out there from the
Yeah.
Murdoch Whitney house as well. So yeah, yeah,
That was a good
because
investigation. I watched it the other day. Kudos to you
yeah,
guys.
it
Kudos. I
was, it
saw you in a
was
totally different light.
really.
Yeah. When you were doing your dowsing rods,
Yep,
it you were it, it kind of made me wonder because I was like, wow, she's really more you're quiet when you're with us and you were
yeah,
more kind of like take over, take charge when when you're at that Murdoch house.
yeah,
And I'm like, it was a totally different Susan. So I'm like,
yeah.
oh, do I intimidate her? People say I intimidate
Well,
them. Like,
I mean, I was comfortable with the house as well, and I knew what to expect, so I was
okay, good.
ready to connect.
Okay, good.
So yeah. So let's bring on our guest. Here we
Oh
are,
no,
driving
we don't need to bring him
away.
on. We don't
Ah,
need to
yes,
bring
we
him
do.
on. For what?
So I've been actually, he's been on Laura's podcast, and I've been seeing him in the comment section. So I'm like, let me actually find out who Ryan is, because you see him all the time and all the comments and all the shows. So
Very
without
supportive.
further
Yeah.
ado, let's bring on Ryan from Sir Spookfest.
Thank
Hello.
you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're
Hello.
very welcome.
So, is it Sir Spookfest or Senior Spookfest?
Yeah, you could just say Sir Spookfest.
Okay.
That I just put SR because it was easier, and I also thought of this. It was serious research, even though I am just a guy running around with a cell phone camera and trying to figure out what is going on
Huh,
from all my experiences. I've had
gotcha.
too many experiences for something to not be out there, from
We're gonna dwell
UFO,
into
Mm,
that.
to everything. So I grew up in Bridgewater Triangle, and over the years, having my mom telling me not to go follow any lights in the woods, and her experiences in Bridgewater, uh, I have a bunch of stuff written down. But Some of my experiences, I've seen spook lights. So they're small orbs of light, maybe the size of a baseball, sometimes a little bigger, basketball, but just floating through the trees and seem intelligent. I've seen blue, yellow, white. Um, I've also seen what me and my sister-in-law called the man with the lantern, or the railroad track. There's an abandoned railroad track out in Bridgewater Triangle. Supposedly, a railroad worker passed away and walks the tracks with a lantern. We were walking down the railroad tracks out in the middle of the woods, probably a couple miles out in the woods, and we see a light up ahead of us. And I actually caught it on camera, and it looks like somebody with a lantern, like a lantern light up ahead. And we kept walking, and we're like, what was that light? What we thought we were getting back to, there's a thing called the crossroads, but we were still maybe a half mile from that. And we realized that it wasn't anybody else. And we had other stuff that night, something that sounded like a monkey. And that's a report in the Bridgewater Triangle. Bigfoot,
Mhm.
cryptids, and there's giant black dogs, giant black cats, giant snakes, thunderbirds, pugwudgies.
No, Thigh 420, which it says, is he talking about spectral? No, what he's talking about, guys, is he is from Massachusetts and lived in the Bridgewater Triangle area, which is about 200 square foot mile
Yeah, 200
area
miles. But
in
Mhm.
southeastern Mass, and it's been known for like numerous reports of the paranormal and unexplained phenomena and all kinds of stuff. So Ryan is talking about that. He just got a
Mhm.
yes,
little excited and got ahead of
Massachusetts.
himself.
Yeah.
So let's tell him a little bit about the story about the
Uh,
Bridgewater Triangle,
Mhm.
and then we'll get
I'll
into your
actually,
experiences.
I'll tell you the beginnings. So 1765, the Wampanoag tribe actually got, into a battle with the settlers. Chief Metacomet was called King Philip, but he was the chief of the Wampanoag Indians. Um, so that was in the Plymouth colony in that area, and the Bridgewater Triangle goes from Freetown to Rehoboth to I forget, Abington, but it's a big swath of land. There's a swamp in it that's called the Hockomock Swamp, and the Hockomock Swamp actually means the place where ghosts or spirits dwell, and that's from the Native Americans from a long time ago. They named it that because when they went there, they said it was a haunted swamp and there was creatures in there and stuff. So 1676, the King Metacomet, or King Philip, he got killed in Rhode Island, in Bristol. He was drawn and quartered, beheaded, and his head was put on a pike at Plymouth Fort. For over 20 years, his head sat at the Plymouth Fort.
So guys, what he's
Um,
talking about here is King Philip. You all heard about King Philip's War. It's been talked about through the Conjuring drama and everything, and that's who he's talking about. There was a fight between the Indians and the natives, and he's
the
referring to
bloodiest
King
one.
Philip, who was an Indian. I would say he's an Indian, but he was a Wampanoag leader, I think. And he was eventually, they started a war. It lasted a couple years, and then he was beheaded. So
Yeah, drawn and quartered, beheaded, and
just helping you
some of
fill
the
in the
other
blanks
stuff.
there.
Yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate it because I do.
Yeah, I could see he's so excited about it, like,
Yeah,
he's just so
I get
excited,
nervous
like, you lived there
doing
you
this.
lived there for 30 years.
I know. I know all my stories and stuff, but trying to get some of the facts right. I don't remember all the dates and like how many people actually passed away and stuff like that. So I try and write it down.
Mhm.
But growing up
It's a
there,
big thing to remember.
from everything from spook lights, ghosts, and UFO, I've had experiences with it all, and it's weird to talk about now so openly. I think everything's a little more open, especially with like UFO stuff and paranormal, even cryptids is a little more accepted nowadays. So it's fun to talk about. So thank you guys for having me on. I don't usually get to talk to people much about this.
Mm.
Like I try and show it on my YouTube, but uh, having conversations like this, usually people are like, "Yeah, that's just crazy." Don't just kind of brush it off.
Yeah.
Um,
No. If you're from Massachusetts, you kinda know it's not crazy. So
well,
so before someone asks
hundreds of reports.
yeah, before someone asks, they call it the Bridgewater Triangle because there's 3 signs in Bridgewater, east, west, north, whatever, and it makes a triangle if you connect them together, and all that phenomenon and paranormal alleged activity happened in that triangle. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's called the Bridgewater Triangle because of 3 signs, 2 right here, and then 1 ahead, and it's just a big triangle. So
Yeah, and where
get
I
that
grew
out of
up,
the way.
right where I grew up in Easton, there's actually the Devil's Footprints and the story of Mill Pond.
Mm-hmm.
Mill Pond, Nathan Seeley was a wizard, and his father didn't like it, but he had a demonic book. And one night he went out in the woods and read the book, and they said the whole town actually like was against him after that because when he read the book, a storm happened. He ran back to his house, and the devil followed him through the swamp, leaving footprints in the rocks. And this is all like near my house when I was growing up, and I heard the stories. But then I went to Mill Pond, and I went out there, and there is some odd things like that just overnight after he did that, and the devil chased him in the storm. He actually started running the mill at night, and that wasn't possible back then. This is like 1800s, maybe even earlier, 1800s. And he was running the mill at nights, and people saw spook lights or those floating lights always around, and weird noises would happen. And people saying they seen things and creatures and weird stuff. So maybe pugwudgies, maybe those spook lights. And I had a friend that lived across the street from the Wizard Mill Pond. The whole area is just woods, and there's an old pond out there. And he used to tell me all the time. He was my friend Adam from high school. Uh, Spirit, like shadow figures walking through his house, spook lights in the woods all the time, hearing weird sawing noises. And that's where I really learned about the story. I was probably 16, 17. And so then I started investigating that. Just, the whole area had every patch of woods, Freetown State Forest, very interesting area. So I wrote 3,000 Native Americans were killed and 500 or so English, one of the bloodiest battles of the early days of America, the Wampanoag Belt Curse. So after they killed King Philip, after they killed him, they took his belt and his like talisman, and he cursed the land for the whole area. And until the belt is returned and the medallion, the curse won't be lifted. So odd things happening in that area all the time. Um,
I mean, shit, if I got beheaded, I'd be cursing you too. They hung his scalp up for like 20
I
some
know. My
20
freaking
God.
years.
years. Like, I
I
won't be
don't
cursing them for like eternity.
I didn't think much of it when I was a kid. So once I had my first experience at Paul A. Dever, I went with 7 friends to an old asylum that was abandoned. Um, we went we went for 2 hours. It's all on videotape. I have it from my old camera, so this is all taped. The thing when we were leaving, so we had other things happen. We thought we got chased by security at one point, but there's miles of tunnels under all these old buildings, and it's an old insane asylum. And we had weird stuff happening, so we decided we're leaving after like an hour or two. Trying to get out the window, the only open window of this building, and a 4 foot shadow figure is standing outside the window. The girl next to me screamed. My friend Adam goes, "Oh shit!" Like put his hands up. I put my hands up, thinking right away that security was coming or something. Uh, Realized it's like kid size. It goes through the grass, and you could see the grass move. It's like tall grass across the field, and we're all watching it. And it hits a brick wall and goes right through. So everybody gets out the window. We run across the field and go looking for somebody. What was that? Why was there a kid out here? It's like 2 in the morning. We're doing this around Halloween. We thought it would be fun just to go explore the old abandoned asylum. Right before that, my camera had died. Like, as so, my camera light was the last flashlight we had. I had a little camera, and it literally it takes the tapes, so I have to get the tapes digitized or whatever.
Mhm.
Mm.
Um, it's probably 2 hours of us walking through tunnels and stuff. I really have to go through all those tapes. But I didn't catch the shadow kid. My camera had died. I think he drained the battery because I still had a good amount of battery. I was the last flashlight, and everybody was freaking out. We looked for about 25 minutes walking around different buildings, just looking around. And then when we were leaving, we did see security drive around, so we all ran. But after that, I couldn't deny paranormal anymore. There was no, I don't know, not going, it's not that you believe, you just know. It
Mhm.
goes beyond believing. So, and everybody, my friend Casey and Adam and my girlfriend at the time, Sam, and all these people who are telling other people, and I tried to talk about it. Most people just push it off. They don't care. They don't think that that can be possible, but it is.
Yeah. I mean, I used to think some things weren't possible till I got into the paranormal, so anything
Mhm.
is possible. Well, not anything, but
Well,
I wonder, like,
within reason, yes.
I wonder when you say you came across as a child, if because there is a verified story of a young girl who went missing in the triangle.
Mhm.
I want to say late 1800s, early 1900s, and
Um,
they never
I
found her.
probably have her name.
So that would be cool if that would be her and you captured her on film. So
Possibly.
I could see
I
that.
Mary Lou Aruda, but that was in the 1990s. Mary Lou
Hmm.
Aruda was one that I don't think it had to do with the. So there was Freetown State Forest, and a satanic cult actually went out there and were killing cattle and a lot of cows, a lot of birds, a lot of chickens, and
Wow.
satanic rituals happening
Mhm.
all over the place. What ended up happening was a bunch of prostitutes did end up dying in different places, not maybe not in the forest, but they said it was connected. And grave robberies, a lot of grave robberies, and missing heads and skulls. And when the police did research, they did go out to the Freetown State Forest, found Mary Lou Aruda tied to a tree with no head in the Freetown State Forest. But they think that was just a murderer, not connected to the satanic stuff.
Mhm.
But then they started finding what would be bunkers, underground satanic bunkers. And then they also realized that the cows, all the blood was drained. Like some of those UFO reports that mutilated cow, no blood, and it seemed like the UFO reports may have had something to do with that because there was many UFO reports over that near the Rainham Dog Track, Freetown State Forest, all over Bridgewater Triangle. The mutilations were odd because they found no blood. So they thought maybe the satanic cult was taking all the blood and using it. Stuff like that is all over the place with that whole area, early America. Um, I've had other things happen in the Bridgewater Triangle. I still like have no explanation for it all. A few weeks ago, my dad, I was doing a story about Bridgewater Triangle on one of my lives, and he sent me a video, and one of his friends sent it to him. It sounds like a Bigfoot screaming in the woods. And the spot the guy's filming in is maybe a half mile from where my dad's deer stand is. My dad
Mhm.
doesn't believe in any of this. He doesn't think cryptids are real. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't care. He just doesn't think that that's real. Maybe a little bit, but he moved his deer stand. He didn't want to go out there. It does sound like something screaming out in the woods, and it's very loud. I've never heard anything like what he sent me. But another time we were at the abandoned railroad tracks in the Bridgewater Triangle, right near the dog track. So the Rainham dog track has had reports of UFOs for years, Bigfoot, weird pugwudgie spook lights. We were out there, and at first I thought it was an owl, but listening back to my video, It's cryptid herd, Bridgewater Triangle. It sounds like a monkey or like
Hmm.
a lady making monkey noises in the woods. Oh, I forgot to say hi to everybody. Spectral Whispers is my sister-in-law,
I
and
figured
she
that.
Oh,
um, die for 20, which that's my wife. What's up, Wisdom? What's up, everybody?
Hello, Raymond.
he's a little late, but he's saying hi, everybody.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
So
okay.
the pudwudgies weren't they like some kind of like troll like animals that
Gre-
supposedly
think
inhabited
gremlins,
the
but more
area?
human-like.
Yeah,
Goblins.
yeah.
Goblins.
I remember hearing that
So
story when I was a kid. I'm like, shut the front door.
there's some crazy stuff with that. That maybe what we heard was one of the pugwudgies.
Mm,
Um, the
Oompa
spook
Loompas.
lights. So the pugwudgies are supposed to have magical powers and can disappear. They can glow in the dark. They can. They have sticks, but they're like little metal rods, and shoot those spook lights out and make people follow them.
Mm,
They've been said to be very mischievous, but then the Native Americans actually said that some were evil, and people had been pushed off a cliff, like the cliff in Freetown State Forest. People have been pushed off by little creatures or stuff like that. There's so much. Let me see if I could find it.
Hi, Raymond. I
So
want a little puggy wuggy.
pug
I
wedges,
yeah,
like
yeah. I
that's.
think of those
I,
and I think of like the little Wookiees. I don't
I'll
know
show you.
why.
I think of Oompa Loompas from Willy Wonka.
I'll, I'll show
Chocolate
you a.
Factory.
I'll show you this.
I
So
mean, it is crazy
it's
everything
not.
they said they've seen
Yeah.
out there.
It's not just pug wedgies. So I did a drawing of. This is the Dover Demon, and
Oh.
actually been reported a couple times in Dover. So it goes outside the Bridgewater Triangle too. It's not like just a straight up triangle. It's
Yep.
Fall River. You got to think Lizzie Borden's house is around
Yep.
there.
Yep.
There's so much history. And if I can find stuff about the pug wedgies, I wrote it down. What else
The
did I
pug
write?
wedgies.
Pug
Pug
wedgies.
wedgies.
William Russo, 1990, was walking his dog in Rainham and had like a serious pugwudgie encounter. So
Oh,
William
I
Russo,
saw that on
um,
YouTube.
he's done a few interviews, and
Yeah.
the thing is, I don't think he would lie about this, and it's actually been reported more than once that people have seen these little creatures. But his was walking his dog. His dog started freaking out. Something walked under a street light near him, and he's walking old trails like near the high power lines. There's trails
Mhm.
in Rainham, and that's like the dog track stuff and all this. Little creature comes out covered in fur. Said it kind of like had like a chipmunk face, like a cute little creature with big eyes, like a small Bigfoot or something, maybe 4 feet tall. And it kept saying, "E want you, E want you." And he said he stood there for a couple minutes, and the dog was like freaking out. And then uh, he actually was scared, like shaking. And he said when he started, leaving with the dog because he got freaked out, the thing just like disappeared off into the woods, and he never saw it again. But
Yeah.
the fact he described it like what people had said, other a couple ladies said they got a picture of a pugwudgie. It's a rather blurry picture of one, but it does look like, I would say, the movie Labyrinth, like one of those little goblins, like one of those. It's very odd that the amount of reports and his personal experience. So he did an interview not too long ago on a YouTube channel. I forget what it was, but he's still around and he swears by his story. Like uh,
Yeah, he
police.
definitely doesn't seem like a liar.
The other thing
I
is
believe him.
police reports in the area had similar accounts and then Bigfoot accounts. Let's see if I can find that part. I wrote. This is why I wrote it down. Um, so let's
It's
just
it's
go.
good that you write it down. There's so much to have
I
to write
It's
know.
down.
There
There's so
it's
many
is.
even
books
too
out
much.
about it.
I grew up there, and I
Mhm.
have my personal stories, but I'm trying to get to like some of other accounts because there's police reports. It's not just um, why would the police say they saw a UFO or have a Bigfoot encounter, and then
Mhm.
they sent out hunting parties. Um, let's see, where was I? So you were talking about Lauren Coleman up in Maine. He has the Cryptid Museum.
Yes, I love him.
Mm.
Yeah, one of
Yep.
the most world-renowned
Cryptozoologist.
people on cryptozoology. Yeah, he's
Yep.
awesome. I've never been there. I want to get to that museum.
I would
Very
love to go
bad.
there and investigate.
It just even if you go to Maine too, there's so much stuff in Maine.
Oh, we go to Maine all the
Um,
time.
he's a leader. Yeah, I wrote he's a leader in cryptozoology and Mysterious America book. So he has a book called Mysterious America 1983. So he wrote that back in 1983. Check out Mysterious America. Uh, 1970, police track an odd creature. Cop, let's see, cop car was picked up by a Bigfoot. That was, I believe, Rehoboth. And this cop went out after, so there was reports of a monkey running around and doing, scaring people. So the cops actually, for a couple days, went out and started investigating different areas of like the swaths of woods. This cop parked his car, and I guess his car got picked up by a Bigfoot, and
Oh
that's
my
he
God.
actually put it in he put it in a report. The fact he put it in a report, I was surprised to learn about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Another cop, another cop report in I think it was Middleborough. Um, giant birds were spotted, thunderbirds, and that's an old Native American legend. Thunderbirds. I've seen one. Um, Grandmother's house. I was 12 years old. I saw a bird fly over. What actually I saw first was the shadow on the ground coming towards me, and then I looked up. My grandmother goes, "That's just that happens." It was a bird with a 15 wingspan, like bigger than a bald eagle, bigger than any bird. It wasn't a turkey. People were like, maybe it was a turkey vulture. I'm like, we don't have those in Massachusetts.
I've never heard of
What are you
that.
talking like turkey vulture? No, I know they're huge, but even the great crane, like gray cranes and different cranes, I've seen those 100 times.
Mhm.
So when my grandmother was probably a crane or maybe just albatross, a big bird, it wasn't. It was bigger than that. And then before I even knew my wife, when me and my wife first met, she told me a story about a bird that crashed through the trees in her backyard in Middleborough. And in Middleborough, that's right next to Oliver House. I lived
Mhm.
there for a few years, a half mile from Oliver House. So I had gone there and hung out at Oliver House a bunch of times. And I think I only filmed it on the outside once. But I had weird things happen at the Oliver House just going there and exploring. And there's Native American burial ground right in the driveway and out behind the house. Oliver House is definitely one of the more haunted places in that area. And living next to it, I can say I had experiences all the time. Uh, you'd see out of the corner of your eye, shadow figure maybe, hang out in the backyard,
Ooh,
and you have a fire, and you might hear what sounds like a wolf or even weird sounds or see things, spook lights. It's it's not just the Bridgewater Triangle; it's all outside of it too. So they say it actually is like stretching out when
I think
spreading.
when you're driving through it, especially
Mhm.
when we were driving to Oliver House, Susan went a little crazy and was telling me the craziest stories that I never thought that I would hear from her, and I'm like, "I wonder if this is paranormal. Is she being possessed by something right now?" Because it was like the shit flying out of her mouth was like I
You're
couldn't
saying
stop
some
laughing.
crazy
I
shit.
just couldn't stop. I mean, she didn't see the lights coming at us from a direct busk in our lane, but I'm starting to wonder now, did something grab possession of you on the way to the fucking Oliver House? Because even at the Oliver House, he said,
It's
he lived there, he saw shadows. I think you saw a shadow because she was steady. looking past one of the libraries
Mhm.
into the gentleman's room, and I'm like, "What is she looking at?" I'm not looking. I'm not fucking looking. I'm not looking. But the property when we got out of the car, I was a little, and I live in I'm from the hood. I was more scared getting out at that property than I would be walking through the hood in the middle of the night with no
Go
limits,
through Brockton.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, go through Brockton or Lowell or something, but
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
yeah,
go to
yeah,
Lowell.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So Ryan, I have to ask you. So you had experiences seeing UFOs. What was that like?
yeah.
I just had an experience the other night.
Really?
No, that was just me outside your window with a flashlight.
Oh, you got the bright flat. Okay, is it
Yeah,
red?
I got the big one.
Yeah.
Well, I got several of them.
Do you want my first experience? I'll tell the main story.
Sure.
Um, is there a Nikki here, my sister? Hello, Nikki. I wonder.
You're in the building, please let us know. And guys, I put up a link that is a documentary that you can watch about the
Yep.
Bridgewater Triangle. And in my opinion, it's the best documentary out there. And it also mentions the books that Ryan is talking about.
Yeah,
So
I
I'll
have.
put the link in the description again or in the
Mhm.
chat. But it's definitely
So
worth watching, guys.
get Christopher Balzano's book too, The Bridgewater Triangle. That has a good amount of information in it too. Christopher Balzano's book.
She's on her way home from work, but she
Oh,
will
okay.
be.
All right, so I'm going to tell the UFO story. My first
Okay.
encounter.
Yes, yes,
My
Laura. I'm gonna come peep in your window next.
my
Yes.
sister's on my sister's on her way. She'll be here to collaborate this. But
Awesome.
me and like five of my friends and my sister went. Oh, we're walking around the campground up in Maine, and we're near Waterford, Maine, and it's called Keoka Beach. And we're at the campground. We're all a bunch of young like teenagers. I'm 15. I think my sister's 17, and a couple girls and my friend Scott. And we went out on the beach, and nobody goes out on the beach after like 9. It was probably like 9:30, 10. And a giant, like the size of a house, glowing orange orb was floating over the lake. And we're all like, what the fuck? Excuse my French, but
Hmm.
that's what I said. I said that. And then,
Who doesn't say
we're,
fuck if you're from Massachusetts?
hey,
It's
what the
okay,
fuck?
Ryan. It's
I know.
okay.
I know. I know.
Wicked pissa.
It's a pisser. I'm a little pissed at
Wicked
you.
pissa. So when my sister, like, she's like standing right next to me, it was like, oh, like everybody's freaking out. I start waving at it because I'm not scared. I don't get scared as like normal people do. Usually, sometimes I do, and I might run away. But the thing was floating above the lake. We could see the reflection of the UFO off the lake. It's maybe 100 feet above the lake, and it's swirling like it's looked kind of like the sun, but you could look right at it, and it was kind of dimly lit orange, and it stayed there. We watched it for about a minute or two, and then it actually zoomed up and off into space. But for about 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, almost every night, I had a dream of me being in the spot of the UFO, looking down, waving at my friends. And I was like, why the frick did I wave at this? I kind of regretted waving at that. And then I still have the dream sometimes. So the other night I'm driving through Yorktown, and I've been going to Yorktown for a little while,
Hmm.
just doing deliveries and making some extra money. And I see what looks like an airplane coming over me. I'm out on the back roads near one of there's military and different airports and stuff all around. And it's the old Civil War battlefields, the historic road. So the Battle of Yorktown, I'm sure people know that in Virginia. Um, I see what looks like just a regular small plane or maybe one of those weird drones that's been going around. And I could see the green and red light, and it's two lights, and it's flying like 20, 40 feet above the tree line. And I'm like, holy crap, this guy's going to crash. I'm thinking small plane's about to crash in front of me. There's a car in front of me on the road kind of slammed on his brakes when it went over. And I'm slowing down. We're both going like 20 on these back roads. And this thing turns into a red orb, like floats there for a few moments and then zoomed off. My GPS had glitched and took me 5 minutes out of my way past the person's house that I was supposed to go to. And then when it disappeared, I noticed my GPS glitched again and told me I was 3 miles from my destination. I was never,
Amazing.
I wasn't expecting it, so I didn't catch it on camera, but I filmed right after that, and I'm at an airport. I'm at an airfield, and it's the back part of the airfield. There's nothing around. I'm just out in the woods. No airplanes. I immediately filmed, and then I looked at my I have an app to show me where airplanes are. No airplanes in the area. So I all right, whatever. I can tell the story, but I didn't catch it. So pain in the ass, because when you don't catch something, people are not really going to believe you. But a few nights later, me and my wife are driving around doing deliveries again. I got 2 of those drones, and I know they were drones because it doesn't show up much on camera, but I could see the shape of these things. They looked like spaceships from Guardians of the Galaxy. They were not shaped normally, but they had normal flight light, like the regular lights on them, FAA lights. And one of these, the last one I saw, actually was so low and just cruising along and going at like a certain speed. Airplanes aren't allowed to fly that low in that area. There's military bases everywhere. You're not allowed to just fly 60 feet in the air and go cruising across different areas. So definitely a drone. Maybe military. I got into all that stuff, and I live right across from Norfolk Military Base, and I've seen things before. Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I got what looked kind of like a rocket launch out in front of my house. It's not a rocket launch. I had watched this white orb for about 2 minutes. When it started to grow a tail and look like a comet shooting up into the air was when I started filming. I only got 30 seconds of film, but only because it did that I was like, I thought it was a star at first. Like, oh, that's a bright star. And
That's
in the
crazy.
video,
That reminds me of during a solar eclipse, I had a camera outside and I used my stepson's special glasses and put it in front of the camera. And after I watched the footage back, you can see all these white things just flying out in the air everywhere. And they're not even planes. I called Westover Air Force Base. No planes were going by, nothing. And it was like, oh my God. And then when you can see it again, very visible without the special glasses. And I caught that
there's a
all on camera. I'm
lot.
like, holy shit, what is that? It's just like something shoots down and then it just disappears. You know, it's not a plane because it's going down and it would hit something. So
Yeah,
I believe you. I
yeah.
believe what you're saying.
And that's the thing. It's all over the world too now. It's not. I mean, I'm following a lot of people. I follow some debunkers. I follow some paranormal channels in the UK, and they're having orbs. Casper site, I like him. He covers this a lot with UFO stuff now. And some of the stuff that people are capturing is just not normal. We cannot just keep saying it's planes, it's misidentification. We can't just keep saying that. That's ridiculous. We have things that are proof. There is proof of weird things flying around, more than even just drones. These orbs, certain things that are going on in this world that just seem impossible. The fact that every country on this world has stories of Bigfoot before each country communicated. How do we have cave paintings or dragons or any of these stories of ant people, inner earth people? How do we have the same stories from around the world before interconnecting, talking to each other? We didn't have communication from Native Americans to the Aztecs to the Chinese to Australia, and they all have same type of stuff. Bigfoot, Yeti. You have different variations of different things, even UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, jinn, everything and that's before we supposedly, traveled the world. How did we all come up with the same stories? So they came from some part of truth. There's no way it couldn't. You can't just make up your story and then somebody across the world makes up the same story. It's very odd to me with that type of stuff. Uh,
That's a good question, though,
Yeah, yeah.
it,
because
But
they
I
do
feel
it
say
just makes
we're
also,
sense.
only they
yeah.
do say we're only separated. We're separated from knowing 5 people to knowing
Hmm.
everyone in the world. So if we knew these certain 5 people, then we would know everyone in the world. So from those 5 people, we would hear the stories, that's
Yeah.
what I've heard. But I know we had those drone things flying over here in Holyoke, and we went out and took a look to see what the hell was it. And to me, it looked like a drone. It
Yeah.
absolutely looked like a drone. And I fly drones often. I have like 6 or 7 of them. It definitely to me looked like a drone.
Well, then we get videos of these 6 to 8 to 10 foot drones, or bigger than an SUV.
Hmm.
Some reports of a school bus sized one. They're getting to the size where there could be occupants,
But see,
and the
then I
military's
watched a
not telling us what
video.
they are.
Did you watch the a video? I think it was on CNN of this guy who bought the first. They compared it to the Jetson cars. Like, remember the Jetsons? They drove around in the air and stuff.
Yeah, they do have
He's
personal flight
literally
vehicles.
he's literally got one of those. So
Yep.
that could be
I
what's up there too,
what
because they are big.
You have to clear it with the FAA so you don't run into a jetliner or a small passenger
Right.
plane.
Right.
So
But there's that leaves the question still open because there is that, and
it,
Mm.
I've
it's as big as
seen
a bus and a car, and you know.
I've seen the videos of those guys flying those personal drone like flight machines or the flying cars.
Yeah, they're
Um,
so cool.
there's
I
not
wanna see
enough
that though.
with the reports from just Jersey, the size of these and how many reports. That would be a couple hundred people flying around in those. I don't think a couple hundred people own those.
They're
And
pretty
the way they're
expensive.
moving or disappearing, or like my account with the red orb, the I think they are that some are UFOs cloaking themselves and looking like airplanes, and then maybe they're just actually UFOs, but they're copying us and trying to just blend in and be able to get closer and research better, because I feel like they're probably studying us. I
Mm.
don't think it's just China coming over here with big drones and being launched from some mothership. We wouldn't have Congress going into meetings and doing these disclosure meetings. Um, there's so many people. Bob Lazar. Listen to the Bob Lazar story a few times. Watch a few documentaries, and you're going to start to look at it in a whole different light. That was 1989 when Bob Lazar came out and said, "I worked on UFOs, and we have this technology." Um, so I'm a huge fan of Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla
Hmm.
came up with the Wardenclyffe Tower, or the Tesla Tower, and that gave free electricity. J.P. Morgan killed that because it was free electricity and he couldn't get money out of it. So another one, 1902, the Stubblefield Earth Battery. Earth Battery was a coil of wire with some rods sticking in the ground. He ran his whole farm off of it for years. It was free electricity. He was one of the first, 1902, to have electricity on a farm. That's proven. Nikola Tesla worked with him. Stubblefield.
Mm.
Crazy.
So
I've been a little bit lately reading in and looking in on UFOs and studying up on it and all that stuff, and I don't know.
I've done it for years
I find
because
it
of
to be
mine.
funny.
It's fun. How
Yeah,
much is military? I mean, China just came out with a supersonic jet that goes into space and can shoot lasers and do,
right,
actual fighter jet in space.
right.
They
Mm.
have different rule. They have different rules than us, so they just showed everybody.
Mhm.
It's just like people here, like in Springfield, they thought there was a couple years ago that UFOs were flying over the city. But until somebody called the Air Force Base and realized there was a training session mission going on or whatever, it wasn't
Yeah,
UFOs, but they still kept the story that it was
yeah,
UFOs,
it's a good
So
story.
it's like
So Like I looked up after I caught what I call the comet UFO out in front of my house here last year or 2 years ago. I looked up all rocket launches from the naval base across from me. I'm only a half mile. I'm right across the bay, and
Mhm.
no rocket launches. In the morning, they had a couple rocket launches, but maybe were they shooting secret rocket launches? I don't know. So
Right.
maybe that wasn't a UFO, and it was just a military drill for one of these new drones. Um, I was I was say the one of the more interesting one was the Battle of L.A. 1950s, the orbs flying over the White House.
Mm.
That was me.
That was you. All right. It wasn't
Everything
Chinese
is always me.
lanterns. It wasn't Chinese lanterns or glowing
No,
balloons.
that was me
It's
and
not
Willie Nelson.
balloons.
Me and Willie Nelson were smoking it up.
Oh,
That was in my other life before I was born.
back to let's see. What did I write about UFOs for the Rainham dog track?
Nikki McDonald says, "Hi, hey
Ah,
Ryan."
there
Yep,
you go. That's my
Nikki.
sister.
Oh,
Yep.
is she coming in
So if she'd like to type something out or just
or
say, talk about the orange orb, Nikki,
come on the show?
you can come on.
What do you think about doing a little bit of
She
investigating
won't.
or learning about the UFOs?
She won't. She won't
No,
do investigating.
she has to because
Well, she used to
she
do it.
doesn't.
She used to do. All right. I'll just tell the story because she's on, and I'll get her embarrassed. I I was about 16, and her and her friends took the Ouija board and went over to her friend Angela's house. And at the time, what they didn't realize that they were a half mile less, a quarter mile from a Native American burial ground with 38 Native Americans from an old, what they used to call it, a poor farm. And they would work the Native Americans. And there's a burial mound with 38 of them right near my parents' house. And her and two friends decided to take my video camera and go do a Ouija board at Angela's house. And what's on the video camera, I will be showing. You can hear Native American drumming. You can hear chanting. The lights are flickering. The girls run. And then it's just the camera sitting there. And you can still hear these Native Americans chanting and drumming. And it's a good 3 to 5 minutes. My sister got rid of the Ouija board. She never did anything to do with paranormal stuff ever again. I'm not sure. Nikki, what do you think of me doing all this paranormal investigating? She don't like it.
Mm.
That's crazy because I've been to some areas with Native American grounds, and I sometimes hear things like that, which just leads me
So
to believe it's just residual.
that's
They
a very old legend.
but
Anawan Rock was where the last stand was for the Native Americans during King Philip's War, and that's where they were captured. People that go out there, so I've been out there and investigated. All we heard was footsteps in the woods. That's all that we got, but I don't even think we got it on camera. But I was out there with Spectral Whispers and her daughter, and it's a very creepy spot. People have seen phantom fires, hear walking in the woods, hear Native American chanting and drumming.
Mhm.
So it lined right up. And when I watched it with my sister a few times, when back then I was probably 15, these are old tapes and they will be going up on my channel, but I have to get them digitized. And that's probably the best proof of paranormal activity that I've ever seen with a Ouija board. And I probably watched that 20 times. She watched it with me a few times, but I still like, I don't think that they realized back then, because I didn't know about it back then, that there was a burial ground with 38 Native Americans there.
hmm.
So I've also gone in the 1786 house. So there's a house from 1786, and it actually has a triple pooper. I call it that because it has a kind of an outhouse, but it has 3 seats, like in on a bench. um, so
Oh, I've seen that in Kentucky in older houses.
I
Like
I didn't
bathroom,
know.
3 little poopy spots in it.
Yeah, that sit next to each
Weird.
other. Like,
Yeah, that's really weird.
what else did I write about? Police. Police in 1970. Police track odd creatures in the Bridgewater Triangle. Uh, the Thunderbird was one. The Bigfoot picking up the cop car was one. 1985 BTET hunting party. Joseph Dendrade. Joseph Dendrade, 1985, started a club to go hunting for some of these cryptids. So he had witnessed some of those red-haired, what he called Bigfoot, and actually took a hunting party out for a while. And they actually never came across anything except for like a few footsteps that they thought were footsteps, in the mud of Bigfoot, but never had another encounter. But he had a close encounter. I believe that was at Nipponeket, the lake. And on the island of that, there's supposed to be red-haired Bigfoots and people hearing monkeys and stuff like that, which in
We're
Massachusetts.
going tomorrow. We're going there tomorrow.
When I come up to Mass, I'm definitely going to a few places. I think they closed the Oliver House, but I still want to go around the
they
woods
did.
there.
Yep.
So when I first met my wife, I lived at. Do you know who Tom Thumb is? General Tom Thumb, the little guy. We lived in his carriage house, and his wife's house is right behind that.
Oh,
Very
wow.
haunted. Very haunted. When I stayed there for a couple of years, and I seen a shadow figure on the stairs, and even heard the footsteps. I thought one of the kids was coming downstairs. It wasn't. That's where my wife had the Thunderbird experience out in her backyard in Middleborough. Let's see if I can find the police report. Officer Downey reported in Mansfield a 20-foot snake. So there's supposed to be giant black
An
snakes.
anaconda? Wow.
My anaconda don't want none unless you can.
So if police are reporting Thunderbirds, Bigfoot, and giant snakes, and there was reports of giant black cats and giant black dogs, let's see. Horse,
The
19.
skeptic in me says those were the late night police who were hitting the bar and going out on calls and the radio went off.
So
That's what
they're
the skeptic.
smoking something or having fun and doing something else in the 70s anyway, but
Angelina, I think we should just get some tents and just live there in the triangle.
We should.
For months and see what happens.
I think I'm only 20 miles away. I
mean, get out there.
King Philip's Bridge in Susan. I'm like, look, guys, look where we are. And her and Christine are like, where? I'm like, are you kidding me? You have no clue. You did not just see the big sign on the bridge, King Philip's Bridge.
It was a beautiful bridge, though.
And it was so dark. It's so freaking dark. Remember that? It was so dark.
Yeah.
But definitely was an interesting ride. It went from happy to sad. Oh, I don't know. Weird. We should go camp out. But take me to a hotel when it gets dark because I ain't staying in no tent. Go ahead, Ryan.
I'm not staying in a tent. I got a big tent. We could put an air mattress in there.
Oh, there we go. See?
No
air mattress. You don't want to stay out there?
I need glam.
I would.
I need glam camping.
I've stayed out in the woods all night.
I need TV, my Xbox.
Oh, yeah, that's not camping.
Well, if you got your phone, you can just watch movies on there. But yeah, going in those woods has always been different. Even now, I'll walk out in the woods here. I'm usually not scared. It's actually more people that I'm scared of around here than anything for Virginia. But so
have you
this
been
report,
to Mothman stuff yet?
Me, Mothman. I've been to the Mothman Museum twice, and I haven't gotten to investigate the TNT area, but Mothman is one of the top ones that has the most sightings, that is the most believable. Some people said it was a mutated bird. Some people said it's actually an 8-foot Mothman creature. And there is good evidence for it. I mean, police reports. You're talking like actual reports of people. It's at their window and not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not far away reports or oh something flew by. It chased cars at 80 miles an hour.
Like, so I
There's
spent
so
6
much about
weeks.
Mothman.
Yeah, I spent 6 weeks studying the Mothman, and I lived in, on the other side of Point Pleasant in Ohio, in Gallipolis. I was
Okay.
staying there at a hotel for 6 weeks, running someone's restaurant while they were on vacation, and I was right across the street from where the Silver Bridge used to be at the
Yeah.
Quality Inn there, and I would fish off of the remnants from the Silver Bridge. And one
Yeah.
time I was doing a live, and you can hear 2 women talking in my live, and I was the only one there.
That's
So I
awesome.
later found out that there was 2 bodies that weren't recovered, and they were a mother and a daughter. And then when I went to the TNT area, I kept thinking that I heard things inside I call them bombs shelters.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult because you make the slightest move and it's just echoing off the walls. But it was
Yeah.
extremely freaking creepy. But I
Yeah.
never saw a
What-
sighting of the Mothman. Went out in a boat. We
Uh,
went under the bridge. But there is a lot of moths. So I think they got the Mothman from all the moths that are all over Gallipolis and Point Pleasant, because there's thousands and millions of them when at nighttime. It's
What, and they merge together?
like if you look at a light bulb, there's thousands of them, and you
yeah.
can't see the light. It's just so crazy. But I
It was originally called Birdman, actually, and then they changed it to Mothman. And I think maybe some reports were actually just owls or birds with glowing red eyes. But
Mm.
the
it's
the
a
fact
hard
that
one to believe
um,
with the Mothman,
but
because when I was doing my 6-week investigation, I was interviewing people who lived there and who had been through the tragedy of the Silver Bridge and the sighting of Mothman, and they would not talk about it. I
yeah, they
only
don't.
found people who would talk about it to only come to find out that their stories were made up.
I
But the
ate the
people who
Mothman
wouldn't
pizza.
talk about it want to talk about it. Yeah, I gotta say, I did the 6-week study out there. I don't believe in it.
It's okay if you don't believe
I
in
don't
it. That
believe in it. That's like someone saying, how Harley
did you
Quinn
go
fell
in the
into
museum?
Damien.
Did you go in the museum and read some of the reports? I mean,
I was
that
allowed to do an investigation in the museum. Yeah,
yeah.
got nothing,
All right.
nothing, and
The
you
other
can't even
thing
use
with
your cell phone
Mothman,
in there.
the other thing with Mothman was right. I think it was a year or two later, Chicago had same reports, and actually, there's some videos of what looks like a giant thing flying through the sky in Chicago.
Yeah,
Mothman
Coleman
didn't
says that
stay.
out here too.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe it was a creature, or maybe people were just misidentifying a giant bird thing. But the
Hmm.
more interesting things about Point Pleasant and that area, the Flatwoods monster reported years before Mothman, the landing of Indrid Cold. I don't know if you know about Indrid Cold, or if you've
Hmm.
ever seen the movie or the show Hellier. You should definitely watch Hellier. It's they're looking
Is
for
it scary?
goblins, and it's not really scary. It's a documentary, and they go into different areas about searching for goblins in caves of Kentucky. But then they get into some of what happened in Point Pleasant with Indrid Cold. Indrid Cold was an alien that landed a UFO in Point Pleasant and stopped cars and would go ask people questions and then get back on his UFO and leave. The reports of that are just as interesting. And
Hmm.
the Men in Black stuff, I don't know if you read up on the Men in Black showing up
Mhm.
after that. They the fact that there were Men in Black around town telling witnesses to not talk about this, even police witnesses. They had police reports that seen Mothman. There was farmers in the area and got stopped by a guy getting off a UFO and talking to them, asked them a few questions, and then would leave. He wouldn't actually move his mouth. He telekinetically spoke to people when he got off his ship and just had a big smile. And his name was Indrid Cold. They mix that up in the movie, The Mothman Prophecy, and make Mothman Indrid Cold, some creature, angel, fallen angel type, like weird stuff like that. But
Right.
if you look into the real accounts and the personal experiences from the people. Like I read all the reports. It's a lot of reports. It's so many reports that makes me push to believe that something was going on beyond normal. It wasn't just a mutated bird. And that's from all the Flatwoods Monster, Mothman, Injured Cold, UFO sightings.
Mhm.
There's a lot more in that area that had to do with just the bridge falling, and what was it, 60 something people passed away on Christmas or right
Mhm.
Yeah,
around Christmas.
69, the couple days before. But there
It's just,
also was the nuclear
it's a
explosion.
tragedy.
They dealt with a lot of nuclear stuff there. So who's
Yeah.
to say that that didn't get up out into the air and was
I do
causing
think that
people
maybe it was a
delirious and people going berserk
mutated,
or something?
yeah, maybe it was just people's mass hallucinating or actually chemically messed up from radiation, which is
Yeah,
crazy to think about. I mean, TNT area has been explored a lot by a lot of different people. Great podcast is Wild and Weird West Virginia. If you want to check them out, they're always out doing investigations. They're always talk. They do lives. They have their own podcast. They're very fun to talk to. Very nice guys. Um, I I believe in Mothman, but only because I've read all the reports. I've
Mhm.
looked into it very deeply. So a lot of these subjects, I don't believe in portals and vortex and demons can jump out at you at any time. And I don't believe in a lot of stuff. There is a lot of fakery involved in all of this. People are just trying to get money. I
Mhm.
don't care about that. I don't want drama or anything. I don't want to get money. I just want to find out history or the mysterious legends and myths of different areas. I think real history is actually more interesting than some of the myths. Like
Mhm.
myths are great and legends are great, but there is real stories that are just as crazy or unbelievable.
there's validation.
Yeah, if it's like I've gone to St. John's Church here in Hampton. Um, was the last building to be standing in Hampton when it burned down from a pirate attack, and
Well,
the whole area burned down except for this little church and graveyard. John Smith was there. Pocahontas was there. There's a whole bunch of very old graves there. It's a very interesting little graveyard. One of the first that was in the area that like was maintained. And just looking at history throughout this East Coast, the whole East Coast, the last witch was dunked in. I think it was Hampton, the Witch of Pogo, and she was accused of being a witch. They tied a 15-pound Bible around her neck with chains and threw her in the water. She survived and lived to be 82 and had a cabin. She really was probably just a healer with
Mhm.
different, herbal medicines and different medicines. So they called her a
Exactly.
witch. But at least she lived, and now she has a statue down the street. I've gone to it. The amount of history in my area in Virginia, I, I can't believe it. I love it. Still my favorite place to investigate, Bridgewater Triangle, obviously.
Mhm.
Favorite place to be is up in Maine. Uh, so what we were talking about before all of this was the giant black dogs, giant snakes
Yep.
in the Bridgewater Triangle. So 20
and
foot.
say you guys want to go set a tent out there. You
Yeah,
got
I
no,
I
you're not
do. Why
I'm the
not?
wrong
Why
one to
not?
ask. No, no,
Why
don't even
not?
call me if your asses get bit. I will be like,
so
I'll meet you at the hospital. Fine, call Uber.
I'm a naturist,
Are
okay?
you a naturist by yourself with Ryan while I'm at the
I
hotel?
I've spent a long time out in the woods. I've stayed by myself in the woods. Um,
Oh my god, you're
I
crazy.
don't get scared usually, but maybe bears or moose. I've been chased by a moose. Um, let's see, 1930, blah blah blah. Let's see if I can get the cop's
So let's
name.
see, Brian. They want to know who was the alien guy Ryan was talking about,
Injured
and
cold.
how to spell it. How do you spell that?
INDRID cold. COLD. Injured cold was a whole different thing out in West Virginia, Point Pleasant. Point Pleasant is one of the most interesting areas that I've ever been to.
I loved it there.
Um,
I loved it. I when
I
I arrived there, it was the day that the museum burnt down.
oh damn.
I was there and I was walking down the main road and we were heading to the museum and I actually have footage of it on my Facebook. But the museum was on fire and the fire was shooting through the roof.
Oh no.
And where I was fishing, I came across some old artifacts that they used during the saving, trying to save the people from the Silver Bridge.
Yeah.
And I gave that to the
To the
museum.
museum.
Yeah, and then
It's
they went to
it's
this
in.
lady's area
I
and
seen it.
they wanna dig up her whole yard now. And I'm like, "Wait, no,
Uh,
you." But yeah,
we
that's
want
when
to
I was
we want
there.
to get artifacts.
Yeah,
I've seen parts of the bridge at the museum the last time I went. Um,
yeah. I never got to see the museum.
it's amazing the amount of accounts and the newspaper clippings and the police reports, and so they had a Native American corn stalk, and that was another
I
part
got
of
my
that.
picture with corn stalk.
Yeah, that's he was the chief in that area for Point Pleasant. There's very much similarities to that area as Bridgewater Triangle, and
Okay.
just I love Mothman. I like the idea of cryptids and stuff. Like I
Mhm.
do believe that there can be things out there. So I found out that actually right now science has only documented about 14% of animal life on the planet.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't know that we don't know what's out there. A few years ago, we found a new whale that's 25 feet long, and that has never been seen by science.
See,
So
that
if
would be me
there's,
saying it's the dolphin having sex with a bigger whale, and it just created
it's
a different thing.
yeah.
Like,
So reports of dire wolves that thought to be extinct. Maybe some dire wolves are still out there. So talking about wolves, up in the Bridgewater Triangle, police report. Uh, giant black cats and giant black dogs in Easton. This was 1970s. In Easton, a cat skull or like a leopard or one of a jaguar or a bob, something big, a
yeah, I
skull
heard
of a
about
cat
that.
was small. In 1976, two horses were killed by a giant wolf. Uh, Philip Kane witnessed that, and after this, for 3 days, hunters went into the woods looking for giant dogs.
Hmm.
So that's on a
That's in
police
that
report.
documentary too. Yeah, that's in that documentary
Yeah,
too.
a lot of this is from the documentary, and I just like want to get some dates and the names, and
Mhm.
it's so interesting to me the amount of reports. Like, if there's that many reports, how can it not be there? There has to be something going on. Uh, report by Derek Holt. He filmed them over the Rainham dog track, and that was in 2011. And it does look like what's similarly going on now with the drones, but there's little orbs floating around it and like doing weird maneuvers and
Wow,
changing form.
that's it. I'm never
Weird.
leaving my house again.
I
Screw that.
didn't
Screw
even
that.
really get like Benjamin Church raided Anawan Rock. So at the end of King Philip's War, he raided Anawan. Anawan Rock was the last hangout for the Native American Wampanoags, and actually he caught them, and they surrendered peacefully. But Benjamin Church actually left for a couple days, and they had killed King Anawan. I mean King Metacomet, and put his head on a pike. So it was too late. But
So I just want to ask you a question. During your time out there, anytime you've been out there, have you come across any of those rocks they say have writing on it? They're like there's several crazy rocks out in the triangle.
oh,
Ruins
Have
it's
you
or
come?
more than
yeah,
several.
yeah.
It's way more than several
Yeah.
rocks. But there's Dighton Rock. Dighton Rock has what's known as the oldest petroglyphs ever known. They don't know how to read them. They don't know where they came from. Let me see. Um, so that is, where did I write it? Phoenician, Native American, Portuguese, early 1511, or thought to be way older. Dighton Rock and Dighton Rock and Profile Rock. All right, so there's also Skim Milk Bridge, the poem on the rock. Skim Milk Bridge is another story that a woman went missing. on a little canoe trip down a river, and Skim Milk Bridge, her body was found under it, and they couldn't find a reason why she passed away. Um, right next to that, like right near it, is a rock with a poem on it, and they don't know how old that is. I didn't write down what the poem says, but there's things like that. And Skim Milk Bridge or Indian Bridge, that's a very haunted spot out there. That's Bridgewater Triangle. Let's see what else I wrote. Native Americans in early America, grassy island. So I think it was the 70s or 80s, they actually dug up what's called Grassy Island across from Dighton Rock with the oldest petroglyphs. So Dighton Rock has the oldest petroglyphs. They don't know where this writing came from, if it was Phoenicians or the
It was me.
Portuguese or Native. It was you
It's always going to
50,
be me.
before 1511. The year 1511, well, the rock excavation, when they excavated the grassy island, they found many Native American burials, and they found a powder that was like, I forget what it's called. It's like, I should have wrote it down because now I can't think of it. But they found like herbs and powders buried with the bodies, but once they dug up the bodies, this powder would boil and bubble and smoke and disappear. So like weird magical things going on when
Ooh,
they
my
dug
type of
that up.
stuff.
And
Damn.
they never figured out what was causing this, like maybe the air was causing this powder to explode and like disappear and bubble up. But
Susan,
once
grab
they
your
did that,
shovel.
it's in like its own little hut now. I went there during COVID and explored the area. There's a graveyard there at Dighton Rock. There's old weird buildings at Dighton Rock that we don't know where they came from, very old. And they put it inside a building, Dighton Rock, and it was closed for COVID. So I didn't get to go in and see the rock, but I was right on, like next to Grassy Island and this whole area that they said had many Native American burials. What else did I write?
See, Ryan should come back up to Mass. We should all
I
get together,
I will be.
Absolutely.
investigate.
And camp in the woods.
No, 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 no.
I'll camp if
We
it's
should
warm out.
investigate, and I'll be at base camp at the hotel, and you guys can put
Right.
up some tracking cameras, like deer cameras or whatever, and I'll just call you if I see something and be like,
Wow, wow.
that's what we can do.
So
Someone's got to
another
let
thing,
somebody know if someone gets on alive during it. So I'll be that
going
person.
out in the woods by yourself is the worst. But if you're with people, I don't mind. That's even easier.
No, 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 no. Now I'll fit.
It's not camping. That's fine. I'll
I'll
tell
be in
my
one
parents
spot.
we're all sleeping at my parents' house. That's right near the Hawkmock Swamp.
See, they don't
Um,
know. Crispy
so
like
another thing happened when they dug those graves up. All the
Oh, thank
cameras
you,
and
Laura.
they tried to videotape it and they tried to take pictures. None of the pictures would develop. Glitches happened with the cameras. Orbs were seen, and some more of that Native American drumming was heard. So while they're trying to do this excavation, they actually stopped and gave up. They didn't go any further when that stuff started happening. It's still there
So we
today.
should all three go and continue it. Then maybe we can like find something. That'd be kind of. I would be down for that, but I still want to sleep in a tent. I'd be done at 5 and in a hotel.
Once it gets dark, we'll leave just for you, but then I'm going back out.
I
Um,
mean, as spooked out as I was at the Oliver house because it was so freaking dark. There's no
Oliver
way
House
in
is
hell.
creepy.
yeah.
No matter any time I went there, I've gone there 3 or 4 times. Every time I went there, it's kind of like you could feel it.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
that weird.
yeah, it is.
There's
No.
something about it that's so different. You're in a different area, and your body knows it. So I said the whole thing about the profile rock. The profile rock used to look like a Native American rock, and it was actually like the face of a Native American carved into a big rock. That fell in 2019. It fell down.
Oh,
So
okay. I
that's
saw
not
pictures of that. Yeah.
that. It's not there
That's the one I
anymore.
told you I pushed down.
Yeah, you did that. Hey,
I did that too. I did
Uh,
everything.
so I
Miss
said that
Angelina did
part.
that day. So when you're out investigating, like at the triangle, what devices are you using? Are you just bringing the video camera, using your
So
ears, your eyes?
the best
It's
evidence I
totally
feel.
different from an outdoor investigation.
I started out very small. I just had like my K2 and maybe a voice recorder, and
Hmm.
eventually then I got a Spirit box, an S box, and a REM pod. Uh, I don't think you need equipment at all to catch any of this. You can get stuff on camera naturally, like disembodied voice. So I got what I called real ghost voice Bridgewater Triangle, and I get maybe it is pareidolia or natural sound, but still to me, I heard it personally, and I thought it
Hmm.
was dog bark off in the distance. And then when reviewing it, I heard what sounds like some words talking to me right after I say something, and
Oh, wow.
and you can hear it. And I've had that happen before. Like another time, I was at the 1786 house, and there's a story of a little kid that died and was buried in the backyard, and in one of my videos, you can kind of hear what sounds like hello from downstairs of a little kid. That one's a lot harder to hear, but I definitely have something. It's odd to me. I've turned up the volume and put it out, and it's just a ghost voice in my ear, disembodied voice on camera. You don't really need the equipment all the time. It can help. I don't think
Yeah.
apps are any good. You can't
Hmm.
get any good apps.
Yeah. I'm glad
SLS
that
is
I'm glad we had the
really
recorders
good.
on and all the cameras on at all of our house because there's a lot of disembodied voices that we heard with our own ear and we actually captured on camera that Christina and Susan don't know yet.
So, just keep, try and tweak it, find the right volume to be able to hear it clear, and that's it. What I do is just go out, film, see what I get, and then I don't edit, I don't add stuff. I try not to cut the camera and then come back. But
Yeah.
with doing all of this, anyone doing this type of research and trying to do it seriously is very important. It's a science we don't know about. Same thing with UFOs and cryptids. I get people don't believe, and it's not a big deal if you don't believe in anything. That's fine. But there's plenty of reports, and there's plenty of people who have witnessed things that is very important to talk about, and just research. We have to research this stuff to figure it out. You can't just leave it. Like to me, it's very important. I want to find more evidence. I want to get
Mhm.
out there. If I see anything or anything happens, I'm just going to say what I think it is. uh, there's a few more things I wrote down. A lot of about Freetown State Forest and the drumming herd and walking and phantom fires. A lot of people have reported phantom fires out in those woods.
And aren't
Uh,
they reported to be, like, on the lake and not in the woods,
yeah,
but on the lake? That's
some
creepy.
are reported in odd places, like even
Yeah.
floating fire.
Mhm.
One lady had a report of seeing a Native American at Anawan Rock, and then they said that night too they saw a fire out in the woods, but it was like above the ground, like just floating. Odd things like that. That nobody's going to walk out into that swamp in the middle of the night. You'd either get stuck, or you're gonna walk into thorns. You sink up to your chest in the swamp. So nobody would be walking around out in those areas where things have been spotted. I mean, maybe
Do you hear
Bigfoot.
what he's saying, Susan?
I
Do not
would.
walk around. See,
Yeah, I will.
the
When I
same
come
person
up to
who would have went
Mass,
out behind Oliver House at 10-degree weather, knowing there's hunters out there. Let's go investigate in the
when it's
hunting
cold,
field.
it's so hard to investigate when it's freezing cold. And like Mad Paranormal, she was just out by herself at a graveyard, and it's like 10 degrees. I'm like, oh yeah, I just can't. I don't want to do that. I want to wait. I'll wait until it's warmer again and go do investigation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about going up to the cemetery today because when it snows, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it feels warmer than when it's not
Hmm.
snowing. Like I'm
Yeah.
shoveling this morning, I'm like, okay, it's nice out. I should go up to the cemetery. But then I was like, no, probably not. But yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Coldest place I ever been and did an investigation was Iowa. I just did that during Thanksgiving, and I got what looks like glowing eyes in a closet.
Oh, God.
Um, I even went back and checked, and there's no reflective items on the wall in the closet. There was no reason for it. Some people maybe said it's a reflection off my camera phone from tacks or nails in the wall, or it was an animal. It's just a flat wall that it had a hatch that goes into the basement, and it's just a closet. I couldn't figure out what the glowing eyes are. So I put that up on, it's on my community. You can look at the pictures. There's a whole video. And then there's a video of me going back and checking. There's no reflective stuff. I don't know what it was. The drones, the UFO sightings lately. I've had things in my house move a couple times now in the past few weeks. We had the closet door open, and that has a metal latch that only if you open the latch that it can open. But it was right before Christmas, and my mother-in-law goes, "Hey, what was that?" And one of the little no elf on a shelf had
Mhm.
like jumped. He jumped out of a light. I put his little butt in a light, like he was stuck in the light. So she's like, "That just hit the floor. Why'd that jump out of there like that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then the attic door opened, and like actually we all heard it, and it like it came down a good like foot, and I was like, "That's all right. We know." Hello, that's what we said, you know.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. So Ryan, I have to ask you, like, do you feel that recently, within like, I don't know, the year or so, that we've been getting a lot more, that the earth in general has been changing, and these things that we don't know are trying to give us messages?
A lot of it. So magnetic pole, or the North Pole, stays in
Mhm.
its same spot, but the magnetic pole has moved and shifted a lot. There's things that are happening. I do think that some of this stuff is looking at nuclear weapons and trying to stop us from destroying ourselves. Some of these orbs, when you look at it, a lot of it is over military areas. Maybe it is, military aircraft, and some of it is, but then there's something else. There's something else to these orbs. There's something else to these UAP and UFO. USO is a big one. They have things called splashdown on Navy ships. There's so many reports of Navy ships out there getting surrounded by orbs, and then they'll disappear into the ocean. A lot of the reports of these drones are flying out over the ocean and then flying from the ocean for miles and miles. Um, Maybe some of it is new technology, but there are things that don't want us to blow up the world with nukes.
I mean,
Not,
I feel like
I mean,
we're in a Holocaust right now or something with everything that's going on
the
in
world is
California,
crazy.
and God bless everybody
California's
out there.
burning.
That's
That's
sad.
just
I've been watching
that's
that for
just
4 days.
greed. California is burning because of greed. They didn't do the work that they said they were going to do for holding ponds, and there's a couple people that own all the water in California, the billionaires, and they didn't fill up a reservoir right next to one of these giant fires. That it was a 2 million gallon reservoir to hold water, but it wasn't full. Why?
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that. The rich people, that's partly the government corruption.
That's why I am my own government. I do what I want, when I want, how I
Oh
want. As
boy,
long as I
here we
don't get
go.
arrested, who the fuck cares? That's
I
how I
try
look
not
at
to
it.
get into politics and all that. Like, I don't get into the politics of
Exactly.
stuff,
You have
but
to be your own government. Like, I'm
but
a
now it
warlock
is.
who has a coven.
It's the world. It's not just gonna affect you know the few people. It's gonna affect the world. So it is beyond the rule of law or government. It's
Yeah.
everybody gonna be in trouble soon. I mean, look at North Carolina. They didn't do anything for them. They didn't do anything really for Florida when it got covered in sand. I mean, every street was covered in sand. They flooded. Then is anybody going to help California after all these fires and mudslides happen? I, I
Mhm.
I mean, that's
hope.
sad. Just one area, 7,000 homes. boom, gone. I
I,
mean, I watch the TV and I cry because I've been through a fire
I
before, so I can relate to them
avoid
people.
the
It's just like,
news
holy
like
shit.
crazy.
I do
Oh
too.
You
I
no,
do
can't
too
you
because
can't
it's
avoid
just
it
it's
now though.
depressing.
You
I
you
can't
can't
avoid the news.
you can't avoid the stuff going on because
Yeah.
it's not natural stuff going on. So it's thousands of people freaking out,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna say, "Oh, it's all fine. We don't know what it is. The drones are fine. That there's no threat." But you're not helping anyone, and that's a lie. There's some type of problem. You can't just say, "Oh, it's fine. We don't know." You're the government. We pay you to tell us, to help us. You're supposed to work for the people, we the people. You're not working for we the people. You're working for money and greed. It's sad, but like you were saying that maybe some of this stuff is trying to warn us.
Mm-hmm.
I believe maybe Mothman was trying to warn some of those people. There was some stuff that happened in Chicago right before they saw him, and then stuff happened. So maybe Mothman was trying to warn people. That's an old theory. Um, there's
By
other things.
destroying a bridge and killing people, that's not
No, I
smart of
don't think
him.
Mothman had nothing to do with it. He was just there to try and scare people to let them know that some
But you
horrible
know, the
thing is about
story
to
goes
happen.
that a lot of people say that he's the one who brought down the bridge. When, if
He
you look
might
at
have.
the records, it's just structural. It just
Who
broke down.
knows?
It broke
Yeah,
down.
I've seen the
It was old. It
structural
wasn't fixed.
information
It
at the
wasn't
museum.
maintained.
Pin 13 broke, and pin 13 was a pivotal point on the bridge. And the odd fact that the 13th pin broke. Weird, coincidences like that. A lot of coincidences for stuff to not be in the myth and paranormal side of stuff. Why
Mm-hmm.
did the 13th pin break on that bridge? And people were getting calls from things like Indrid Cold or Mothman trying to scare people. Um, I I think that a lot of stuff that happens is known by other things, and they do try and kind of warn us. Some of these orbs are shooting nuclear weapons or following nuke subs. A lot of reports, whenever they put out a nuclear device, and on a ship or on a submarine, they have orbs following them. There's a reason, and that happens in Russia, that happens in China, that happens all over the world, and there is a connection between everything: spirit, ghosts, cryptid. You're talking UFO. You're talking everything is actually connected. There may be even an Earth. The moon might be hollow. I'll go crazy. I'll go
Mm-hmm.
to the fullest extreme before, and then start to look at what is proven, what's scientifically proven. So, 1979, NASA sent a rocket to the moon and flew it straight into the moon. The moon rang for hours like a bell. That's proven. That's just it's NASA report. Um, did we land on the moon? I think we did. They had stuff up there. We have mirrors. We can shoot lasers at the moon and bounce them back. Um, there may be stuff on the dark side of the moon. The moon is always facing us. The moon doesn't rotate, so we don't know what's on the back side of the moon. We haven't been there in years. We
Mm-hmm.
don't go back for a reason. The astronauts will even talk about orbs, weird things. So if the astronauts are saying this and they don't go back to the moon, then conclusion, you have something on the moon or something more than us. There's just stuff like that. Any report that you get from a higher up military, they're not going to tell you everything,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but national security stuff. Studying all this has been pretty crazy. Having experiences myself many times, from hearing what sounds like a Bigfoot or a monkey out in the woods to seeing shadow figures to seeing UFOs. So then I dive in, because I've had experiences, I dive into every subject as much as I possibly can. And a great channel for UFO stuff is Area 52. That's Chris Ramsey. Check him out. There's so many podcasts and different things that I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
If you just hear Trump and Joe Rogan show, they talked about some of the UAP stuff. There's really big up people, famous people talking about this. If it wasn't real, why were we all talking about it?
You should do a conspiracy theory channel. You'd be
I
so good at that.
I'm so already
Mm.
all into it.
Like I see it. I see it. I would definitely fucking watch it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I like the history too. That's the other part.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to Fort Monroe a few times. That's the biggest stone fort on the east coast of America, and it's huge. And people live on it and have reported for years shadow figures running on the ramparts, ghost animals. There's a pet cemetery. Every war guy from back then had a pet war dog, and they're all
Mm-hmm.
buried there. So reports of knocking. Edgar Allan Poe was locked up there for trying to run away from the military. There's other people that were locked up there. The Confederate president was locked up there. Uh,
I
Jefferson
just got
Davis.
out from there yesterday. See, it was me again.
You don't want to be in those. That place is creepy at night,
Oh
man.
boy.
They have a story at Fort Monroe about a moat monster. So one
Oh
night
yeah.
I did a
Never heard
investigation
that
there,
one.
The moat
and
monster. Yeah.
The moat
I heard
monster.
Mhm.
I heard a bunch of splashing in the moat, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Probably just fish, or maybe a seal got in there or something. But it was big enough splashing for me to go, holy crap, what's this? Because really, it's not that deep of a moat. It's only like 10 feet deep.
Mhm.
But a general back in the day, like probably 1800s, walking his dog along one of the ramparts around the moat, said he saw a giant pink sea creature, probably 25, 30 feet long, swimming through the moat. And he went and told guys. So there's real reports of stuff like that. Abraham Lincoln's ghost has been seen at Quarter One, and that's where Abraham Lincoln used to stay when he went to Fort Monroe. There's a lot more to Fort Monroe. I got to get back there. Um, 11 men exploded on a cannon battery. They had a 15-inch barrel cannon, and they were doing practice shots out over the water. And one of the barrels breached and blew up, and 11 men passed away. That was 1914, so over 100 years ago. And I've investigated that. I've had rather odd coincidental REM pod hits where I ask a question, it would go off. Ask it to shut off, it would shut off. Do it again. I did that 8 or 9 times in a row. That's when I start to go, okay, I understand you are actually here. Like I can't get that lucky. At some, you know what I mean? There's sometimes where equipment can work. You're not going to get that lucky for repeated asking to turn it on and turn it off, and it keeps doing it. And then 10 minutes later, you get nothing and the REM pod doesn't go off at all anymore.
Mhm.
Okay, so then you have some type of communication with something that maybe you did get lucky. I don't know. At this point, I don't know how much I trust equipment. So
Yeah.
it's more the feeling.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
you will know when something is happening. You usually will get the hair standing up. You have that feeling. Um, Not that you're scared. I've had some scary situations. Most of the time, I gotten scared thinking it was animals and run away through the woods. Coyotes.
Well,
Um,
Angelina normally just looks at me.
That's scary enough.
I mean,
Mhm.
so what's your
And I
best
hear myself in a lot of the
experience?
film, Susan, saying, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" 80 million times. Fucking
What are you doing?
footage. What is Susan looking at? Where's Susan? I'm like talking to Christina. We're in a closet getting ready to do an Estes method. I'm like, "Where's Susan?" Like downstairs with Christy. I'm like, "Okay," because she's seeing something. And I need a little break. And I'm like, I don't remember saying
You
that.
need a timeout. So, what is your guys' best of any of that I've talked about? Have you seen, heard anything? I mean, what?
No,
No.
I've never seen anything when I was a kid. I used to hang out in Freetown, but I've
Yeah.
never been back as an adult to investigate. I've only been in the paranormal 8 years now, so and just back in Mass for 2 years. So
Yeah.
I really don't think I will go out and investigate there. I am not a woods person. Like I
Um,
totally want to go find Bigfoot, but I am not going in the woods. It's not
there's
happening.
some
Things
places.
happen there.
If the house is still standing, we could go in the 1786 house. I actually know a lady that used to own it, and she's the one who told me the story about a kid being buried in the backyard. so my dad used to play at that house when he was a kid, and they had stories about, ghosts at that house. There's a lot, so much in the area that you don't have to go far to find a place you can go investigate. There's old schoolhouses that are haunted.
Yep.
There's so much. One of the schoolhouses, I think I wrote it down if I can find it. So let's see. The ledge at Freetown State Forest, a lady in white, has been seen multiple times. Anawan War
Yeah, we
Chief
can.
surrendered 1676. Let's see.
Susan's gonna be calling next weekend. Let's go
What?
over. To
So
the
you don't have to
Bridgewater
go in the
Triangle."
woods.
You don't have to go in the woods. You could actually,
not?
you could just, you could just go to Oliver House. I don't know if are they actually closing that now?
They're
Yeah,
closed. Yeah,
it's
the city took
closed.
it over.
But the
I'm so
Emery
sad. I
Estate
always
still
wanted to get
there.
in there.
Yeah,
The
except-
Emery
That's-
Estate, though, could go there.
You could go to Thomas Thumb's wife's house. I know that's part of it still set up like it used to be from back in the day, like 1800s, and that's supposedly haunted. Let's see, what did I write?
We
Down
gotta
here.
figure out a path this year to do.
Horbine School, or the Harbine School, a one-room schoolhouse, and that's one of the last one-room schoolhouses. Is right outside the Bridgewater Triangle. I think it's near Dighton. Yeah, it's right
We have
in
like a little
Dighton.
park area over there, like other little buildings that are older too, that you can go in.
Yeah, really early settler houses. Some of the
Yeah, I went
some
there
of
in a
those
field trip.
houses
Yeah,
are.
yeah, it's cool. We should go there, Susan.
So we could
We'll
do
hang
that.
out for 3 days.
The Harbinger House, or the old schoolhouse, there was more than once reported seeing a full classroom of kids and the teacher teaching, and then they tried to go into the schoolhouse, and they thought it was a reenactment. I forget her name. I didn't write down her name, but the actual witness that walked in there said that the teacher just went like this, and then all the kids disappeared and she disappeared. And that's been reported more than once at the one house, the Harbine Schoolhouse, one of the earliest schoolhouses in the area.
That's crazy. I've never even heard that story. Now I want to go.
I've been there because I worked in Dighton doing electrical work. And actually,
Melissa says check for ticks.
My boss told me about it. My boss was like, "That's the most haunted schoolhouse in America." I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Huh. I'll have to see about that.
I mean,
I think
I never actually went and investigated. I just walked around it.
Yeah,
It's a tiny little one-room schoolhouse. It's very creepy. Let's see. Grave robberies at the Freetown graveyard. Many skulls taken. Prostitutes were killed in the area, and they think it might have been tied to the ritualistic satanic cult. What else did I write?
Or a serial murderer who had mother issues and killed prostitutes.
No, they know it was.
Doesn't stop.
They know it was a satanic ritual stuff because they kept finding dead animals in satanic ritual spots with like the satanical like stuff around, and then they found bunkers with a bunch of satanical like symbols, all the candles and dead animals. So they found like 30 dead cows out in the woods with no blood.
Wow.
They found a body tied to a tree a few years after the satanic panic. They found a girl tied to a tree. I said her name earlier. She was only like 15 years old. That was a murderer that tied her to a tree and cut her head off and tried to make it look like it was part of the satanic stuff, but it wasn't. Before that, though, they did find bunkers out in the woods underground and old cabins that were connected to the satanic cult. I have the guy's name written down somewhere. The murderer was between 2001 and 2003. That guy that cut the girl's head off, the poor girl. There was a lot with the Freetown store, like 3 men. So 2006, 2 men were shot in the head, and still, I don't think that was ever figured out why 2 guys got shot in the head out in the Freetown State Forest. But one guy was found in his car, like murdered, like in a satanic ritual way. Yeah, so James Cater. James Cater was the killer for the girl that got her head cut off and tied to a tree. Mill Pond, I talked about the Wizard of Mill Pond and how he summoned the devil. And what else? Spook lights, pug wedgies, Mill Pond, blah, 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 the ledge, the lady in white. So multiple times people have reported on this ledge over in the Freetown State Forest, a lady in white walking on the ledge, and it said that she was supposed to meet her lover there, and he never showed up, so she jumped off a cliff and killed herself. The triangle, maybe.
That story, like
stretching.
many different states for many different areas, like train
The
track,
lady in,
bridge, or I've
yeah,
heard that story. So it makes you like think, all right, so it just went from one state, someone heard it, told it in another state, and then like, oh, well, we have that same thing here, you know?
so
It's
at
crazy.
Fort Monroe, what I was talking about here in Virginia, the Fort Monroe has the lighthouse lady, and she's a lady in white, and her lover was supposed to come back from a sea battle, back in the pirate times, and he never came home, so she killed herself by jumping out of the lighthouse. There's stories like that all over.
We're going to that lighthouse.
Have you ever heard of the
But
21
don't jump
grand?
off, okay?
You can't go in the lighthouse. You
Hey,
can look at it.
don't
But
stand me up, and I
maybe
won't.
one day I could get a tour. You can actually talk to the curator where you buy tickets and stuff. I probably could get in to go do more investigations. Like quarter 1 is where Abraham Lincoln's said to have stayed, and I've walked around it and I've done an investigation at quarter 1. It's a big mansion on the island on the fort, and Abraham Lincoln's ghost is said to have been seen before. And when I went there, there's a lady, Susan, who I forget her last name, but she actually knocks on windows if people come close to the house. And one night I did, when I was doing an investigation, heard knocking on one of the windows. And it definitely, because I had just read that story and then I heard knocking while I was doing an investigation. That was very interesting. I seen a shadow figure run across one of the walls of the fort. I didn't catch it on camera. There were tree branches in the way. I thought I had caught it, so I was all excited. But I didn't catch
But
it
you
on
hate
camera.
that.
So it was tree branches.
Yeah.
There's
I would
nothing
be
I could do.
so honored if I got connected with Abraham Lincoln. Come
Yeah,
on now. Abraham Lincoln?
you can feel it when you go to the house too. You know how old, and they're renovating it right now. So maybe once it's done renovating, and I've actually talked to one of the security people there, and I was up on the porch, and you're not supposed to go up on the porch, but it was like 10 at night, and he drove past me and just kind of slowed down and was like, "Hey, I just talked to you a bit ago. Get down." Like he didn't say anything, but I ran down the stairs and left. You just got to be really respectful, I think, in all situations. And I wasn't hurting anything. I was just videotaping the building. There's other things at that fort that have gone on for years. I forget some of the stories, but it's more than just shadow figures and knocking. There's the moat monster and all these weird tales about stuff from way back in the Civil War times or Revolutionary War. That's very interesting to me too. The fact that you can look back in history and find real reports that are of odd things. I tend to believe some of this stuff because I've witnessed some of this stuff.
Interesting.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I definitely would like to investigate with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I will be up in Mass probably a few months because I got to wait for the kid to be born, and then we'll probably take him up there to go see my parents and stuff. I'll make sure to let you know when I come up to Mass. I have a few other people. Noah, I forget the name of his channel, but there's a kid, Noah, that I told I would tell him to, like, I'd like to investigate with him. My friend Harry from Bridgewater Triangle Paranormal, he's actually really into this. He did the Oliver House, and I believe he got one of the dolls from the Oliver House before they closed. So he's trying stuff with the doll just to see, if anything reacts with the doll, haunted doll being there. So
I know,
that's
I'm
really
so
cool.
pissed because Christy offered me the Encyclopedia Britannicas, the whole set.
You should have
I
taken them.
And
know.
I totally did not remember that she did that until I started reviewing our footage. I'm like, "What the F? Why
You
didn't
should
I
have
She
taken
probably
Google
them.
that
still has
shit?"
them.
Because that stuff I don't think is going to move. They're probably just closing it down. I'm hoping
They're
that they
making
will
offices.
reopen it. They're making it into
Business
offices.
business
That's what
You
they
offices.
know,
said. Yeah.
And she
do you
said
know
it's not
Benjamin
a
Franklin
museum.
wrote some of the first letters to different
Mhm.
commanders and stuff in that house? Like the history of
Oh,
that.
we know the whole
They're
history.
they're actually going
Quite
to
some
turn it into
time.
offices. I
Yeah.
don't think that we should be turning stuff like that into offices. That needs to be historically preserved.
Well, I believe she said if they don't do the offices, it will stay open as a museum, but the city will
Mm-hmm.
no longer allow paranormal investigations.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't want the it's kind of an aggravation, but I mean, it should still be explored. This is a field of science that nobody is actually exploring enough or giving enough credence to actually, I don't know. It's ridiculous to me that we have all this information, we have witnesses, we have stuff like that we're looking past it and like, nah, it's not real. Okay, well, that's odd. Why not looking to it more? What, you know what I mean? That there's things even that maybe you thought you could debunk because it's natural, but what if you're debunking something paranormal and it just seemed natural? There's things like that. A lot of this stuff can be debunked. A lot of this stuff is natural, but not all of it. It's not.
99.9%.
Yeah.
99% is not real, 1% is. And
Yeah.
there's
Mm-hmm.
millions of people trying to find out if there is life after death.
We have a
Somebody
lot of
was trying to
people
find
looking
that.
into it. You
I
just
mean,
don't get.
spirits knock when they come around me. They just start knocking and knocking and knocking until I tell them to stop.
Right. So you have experience, and it's very hard, even on camera, even if you have a great camera, if you get something that looks too good to be true, people aren't going to believe it. So
So Steph
that's
says,
another hard thing of this.
"Have you ever checked out the Mark Twain house in Connecticut? I used to work at the Mark Twain house.
I love Mark Twain. No, I've never been there, but
I used to work there.
I would love to go
I
there.
never wondered if it was paranormal because I was not into
Hmm.
paranormal then. But now
Mm-hmm.
that
Mark,
I know, I will call because I'm still in good. I used to work there as a banquet person when they had big banquets and stuff like that. And Mark Twain House had something going every like day of
yeah,
the week, Wadsworth Museum area and stuff. So you
he
know
was
what?
my favorite to
Good
do a
thinking
report
there,
on.
Steph, because I should call them, Susan, and ask if we can go to
Definitely.
do an investigation at the Mark Twain House.
Oh,
I used to work
100%.
there,
That's
and I was
awesome.
yeah, I know everyone there. Even it would be interesting to do one at the Wadsworth Museum. That'd be really interesting too, because I did one night a week, I would work down in the movie theater,
Mm-hmm.
and again, not in the paranormal when I did that, but I was creeped out, literally
Yeah.
creeped out at the area I was at, and I just I was like, "Okay," I did it 3 times, I was like, "I can't do this no more, someone else take that shift." But maybe we can get into the Mark Twain house. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
that. That's what Steph is here for.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And
Damn.
speaking of films, Ryan also loves horror films.
Yeah, I'm a horror movie buff.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is how I watch them.
Absolutely. That
When the
a
music
hundred
starts, I'm
percent.
like,
Like I just love
You
like
don't like the thing?
the horror
I
classics too. Is
I like the cuff.
absolutely.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the blood that gets me, and it's
The gore.
I just I can't do it. I can't do
Some
it.
are wicked gory. I like more mentally mess with you movies too, or
Psychological
found footage.
thrillers.
Found footage is fun,
Mm-hmm.
but I have like I retain weird information. I don't. So horror movies, legends, and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. I know too much about horror movies. I know too much about paranormal and UFO and cryptids because I love it. I guess that's why I remember so much about it. And then the history side of stuff too is also a very like big part of what we are trying to do finding paranormal. You have to look into the history. I believe the Conjuring house is more haunted because of the woods than the house. There's a graveyard out in those woods. Big controversy with that stuff, but I would go there if I could one day. I wanted to go to Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum before, so COVID had just hit and it closed, and I didn't get to go. I was gonna go there, just to see Annabelle and see all the possessed items, and it's fun. Like the Mothman Museum. I have another video. I went to a guy named Paul Shea's house, and this has nothing to do with paranormal, but it's still my favorite YouTube video. I went and he has the Ghostbusters Echo One car with the the Echo packs in the back, the backpacks, and he has like all the Back to the Future cars. So Marty's truck, Doc's car. He has more than one DeLorean.
Wow.
He has the whole setup of the beginning of Back to the Future upstairs in his garage. So you see the dog canned food, like the inventions of Doc, and his head, his crazy head. What do you call it? A head mind reader.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so he has all this stuff, and I went there and with my sister and her boyfriend and my wife, and it blew me away. I was nerding out the whole time. And then he starts talking to me before we left. He has Steve McQueen's car, motorcycle, if you know who Steve McQueen is.
Wow.
So then he has Jurassic Park stuff and some of the Jeeps.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm coming back.
Mhm.
I'm sure you can look up Paul Shea in Massachusetts if you ever want to go sit in the Ghostbusters Echo One car or the Back to the Future cars. I forget
They
how
have
much
it
it
here
is.
in our they have the car here in our parade for
Oh, no.
St. Patty's Day every year here in Hoyle. They bring up the
Awesome.
car and they wear their costumes and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
damn, fuck that. Now that I'm in a paranormal bad to the bone, we need to put a float in our parade.
yeah, yeah.
Shit.
Put up Johnny
We gotta
Five.
work on
The
that.
robot.
Yeah, exactly. Because last year when I saw them, I was like, wait a second. We need to put a float in the parade. I'm a native. I grew up
That's
here.
that's a good way to promote yourself. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'll help you with a
I mean,
float.
yeah, see, I
Wow.
mean,
I could build anything.
I'm serious. We got a little name in the town. We've investigated a few places. Susan came to one of the theaters with us, and
Yep.
people are hitting us up. And I walk down the street like, Angelina, where you going to investigate? Remember that kid that got shot a couple years ago down? I'm like, I ain't going over there. We need a float.
Yeah,
We'll just sponsor a bad to the
exactly.
bone float.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you guys much for having me on here because a lot of people don't want to get into it and talk so
Yeah,
openly about this because
absolutely.
I know I seem crazy, but I'm not crazy. I'm just
You're not
normal.
crazy.
I've
not
had
crazy.
experiences. That's all.
Yeah.
I think if people don't have something they love and are passionate about, then they're crazy. So
Yeah,
you're
this is
not crazy.
this is my love. I love doing this. It's fun and it's more of a hobby. So
Yeah.
it's difficult to get out there and get views or subs or watch hours. So even if you're just starting, just keep going. It's really hard to do YouTube, and don't be discouraged because you're not getting subs or whatever. Just keep going.
Absolutely. Just love what you love to do. It's not about the views, subscribers. It's just your
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you guys are
People
awesome.
say to me, they say, Angelina,
Absolutely.
you don't get mad because people don't watch your investigation videos. I'm like, at least one person does. That's
Yeah.
all that matters. I don't.
And you love what you
Even
do.
one
You love
person,
what you do.
Yeah.
even if one person watches it, I'm happy.
Absolutely. So
Exactly.
Ryan, what is your future goals? What do you have any events? Do you have any particular places that you're going to investigate?
I have a lot. I have such a list. I can't name all my list, but one day Waverly Hills is a big one I want to get to. I've been to Lizzie Borden's house because I was working right next door to it, but I didn't film at that time.
Were you working at the pierogi place?
Pierogi place? Where? Not me.
Were you working there? No. Oh, okay.
Oh, no. I was doing
Pierogi.
electrical work. I worked right next to Lizzie Borden's house, but I've worked in so many factories in Fall River, New Bedford, and all these different areas. some of these old factories were super haunted. I had other electricians tell me they wouldn't go into the basements, and I had to run all the wires because I didn't give a crap. I understood that, yeah, you might see something. Don't freak out. Just keep going. Some of these old mill and millwork factories,
Mm-hmm.
I've worked at. So, do you know the story of Essex or Moby Dick? So, I worked at the Plymouth Whaling Museum for months, and that place is haunted, probably by the old workers that used to go kill whales and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. The story of the Essex is insane. They got taken out by a giant whale, and those men were stuck at sea for months. That's a true story. They have a lot of cool old artifacts in there too. Ambergris from the old whale. That's how we had electricity. We used to light oil lamps with whale oil. So back then, way back, Nantucket Island. Um, there's
Same
so
as when
many
they do in
places.
BioShock.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes.
They
So
use the whale oil in the BioShock game.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I do plan on going back to Iowa. So next time I'm in Iowa, I'm going to go to the Villisca Axe Murder House, and then there is a bunch of other smaller stuff. I don't look for the big places. I don't care about going to these famous places really. I look for
Mm-hmm.
historical places that are randomly and old stories of hauntings, but people don't hear about these places or really watch much about them because they're not world famous yet. But that doesn't mean they're not haunted or have weird things going on or cryptid sightings. Um, Usually I look for places that aren't the big ones. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't really care to actually go to the Conjuring house. I'd rather go in the woods. I don't care about some of these. Oh, what is it? Hill House. That's great, but it's so far away, and I'll just stick to where I can get to. And there's
They
so
charge so
many.
much money anyway.
I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't afford to go to one of the bigger places. One day I still want to get to Waverly Hills. I don't know how much that will cost, but I'd bring friends with me so it's cheaper.
It's a little over a grand. They usually bring 10
Yeah,
people, everyone pays $100, but
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
I've been there about
That's
9
okay.
times.
Yeah, see, and did you have fun at least, and maybe some
I
activity?
the first time I went, I thought I heard something in a room, and I went in the room, and it was security guards throwing rocks through the window. So anytime I went after that, I never caught anything, never saw
Right.
anything.
Yeah,
Sat
kind of
upstairs
ruined it
on the
for
fifth
you.
floor by myself for hours, nothing.
Yeah, just
I think it's
hours and
overrated.
hours. Well,
Yeah, I think
that
it's
still doesn't
overrated.
mean it's not haunted.
No.
I've
But
done,
the building
well,
itself is beautiful for the
I've
historic
done like,
value.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, that's another part of it. It's exploring historic.
Mhm.
The historic is very important, and even
Yeah.
if you catch nothing, doesn't mean we that other people haven't experienced things or like stuff like that can be very hard to even show on camera if you do have an experience. You most of the time you're not going to catch it. It's
Mm-hmm.
99% time you're not catching what you have when you have a paranormal experience.
Which sucks because remember that shadow we all saw at Penhurst in the Mayflower, and we had the camera aiming the other way? That
And
man,
then and then
damn,
you're all just like,
3
no,
validated people. Yeah, we're like, "Did we
Mm-hmm.
get it?
God, what?"
No."
Yeah,
I was so
I've
mad.
had 3 or 4 hour investigations, and then I just didn't upload them. Now I'll upload them because I realize that even if nothing happens, you're just having fun and show what
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to do. Um, I definitely the other day I had a whole video of was that really thick fog, the fog mystery going around the world. And
Mhm.
the fog was outside, and I'm like, whatever, it's foggy. I live near the ocean and the military base, but you could only see 2 or 3 feet in front of your face. And then I went out to the over to the bay over here, and you couldn't see anything. I saw like the shadow of a boat going by. Um, Usually you could see right across. This fog lasted for like 6 hours, and then I'm watching YouTube, like the next day, and I had just deleted some of my videos to make space, and all these people, there's chemical fog and weird fog and fog and fog. I'm like, damn it, I deleted the video. Why did I do that? I probably would have got a lot of views, But hey, too late, whatever. I can just tell the story now because I went out there and I didn't smell any chemical-y fog or anything like that, but it was a very weird fog. Never seen fog like that before.
Wow. I don't even watch that movie, The Fog. That's creepy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, what's gonna pop up on the screen?
Did you guys see on New Year's the lightning striking? What was it? The Capitol building, the monument in Washington, and then the New York Empire State Building.
No, we
Everything
were
got
too fun having alive. We
that
were
was
too
so
alive.
it was so weird that they all got struck by lightning like at the same time. I was like, what the hell was that?
Wow.
That's strange. But then I was looking at other things like right after the New Year with the terrorist attack stuff is all right. That has something to do with way more when he did that in the Tesla truck in front of Trump Tower. I don't think that was just to kill himself. It's
Mhm.
definitely trying to show something, trying to get information out there about these orbs, about UFOs, and the other secrets. Because I mean that's extreme. And then the poor people in New Orleans, right now, California. I'm actually praying for people all over the place, even though
Mhm.
I'm not big into praying or anything like that. But what's going on in the world, yeah, has definitely made me. I'm scared for a lot of people. There's a lot going on. It's
Yeah, there is.
weird, and it's like 2025. Welcome. We're gonna have UFOs,
Yeah.
terrorists, lightning strike, and weird stuff going on everywhere. So it's exciting. I mean, Trump, I think, will be a good president. I do think he
Oh, I
will
gotta go.
on the first. Hey, if you don't like him, fine. But he did say on the first day of his presidency he's going to disclose UFO disclosure stuff and talk about this stuff. That's I want to know. I want to know what is
Hmm.
really going on. I mean, when Congress is talking to fighter pilots and people in the military or that work at Area 51, there's something more to this.
I
Yeah.
could go without Trump.
He is definitely a crazy guy. I'll
Yeah.
say
I
that.
mean, who gets 32 fucking felonies and doesn't go to do no jail time?
Well,
Like, come on! I got 2 felonies the first time I got arrested and I went to jail. What makes him different?
yeah, he's just
Fuck.
rich.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Or
you
like,
Oh
went
my
from.
God.
So,
didn't.
Susan, are you noticing this in our chat? Steph, is
Uh-huh.
literally like not far from me. She's
Oh,
in East Long
cool.
Meadow. And the
Nice.
places she's talking about, like Grant's Inn and stuff, are places I don't know
Yeah,
if she went, but we went to on field trips as kids. And it's like the
yeah.
Oliver House and all that stuff. So we need to hit up Steph there. As a matter of
That's
fact, she was
awesome.
talking
We could
about a
have a big
bar I used to hang
gathering
out
up
in.
there. I got to
Yeah.
come up there and we'll have a big gathering. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
A bunch of
Definitely.
I'll just tell
Yankees
my parents
wearing stuff.
we'll use my dad's bar. We can go to my dad's bar. He has
There
a
we
big
go.
bar in the basement.
There we
So
go.
yeah, we got a place we can go. Sorry, Dad, we're
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
over your bar.
Ah, so does
What
anybody have any questions for Ryan before we wrap up the show?
do do do.
Do
See,
do
yep,
do
field
do
trips.
do do do
Susan,
do
that's what we
do
should do. We
do
should
do do
go
do
and
do.
investigate all these places this year, as many as we can fit in, of where we used to go as kids for,
Yeah,
Massachusetts, we're famous for
good
the
idea.
best field trips. Maybe we should go back to these places now that we're grown ass adults and we're into paranormal and look at it from the paranormal aspect.
I used to
Right,
go in
that's
the
a good
woods a
idea.
lot.
Okay, Susan, we are staying out of the woods. Hear my
But that's
words.
nature. I
How
always
about a
connect to
cave?
nature, and
We can go to the
nature's in the
polar cave.
woods.
Well, you can go and take your butt outside and investigate in the woods while I'm inside somewhere.
Ay,
We
ay,
could go.
ay.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of caves. We could go to some caves. That'd be
Oh,
fun.
there we go. Bats.
Nope. I'm good on that too.
Back.
Oh
I'd be afraid
man.
something would fall in, like the cave would fall in. I can't do that. Oh my god.
All
No, I
right.
can't.
So Steph
Can't.
does just have a question. Ryan, did you ever try to
Munson State
Monsoon
Hospital.
State Hospital?
No, I have not been there. I want to go there. I want to go to
What
the
about
Mark Twain place too. You guys were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
There's so much.
it's really nice in there.
I have
Have you
been
ever been
looking
to
at
the
some.
Belchertown State Hospital?
No, the only
No.
one I've gone to was that Paul A. Dever Taunton Hospital. Um, I had been to Danvers. Um, that was before they actually turned it into like apartment buildings or whatever it is
Yeah,
now.
it
But
sucks.
my friend got the blueprints to Danvers Hospital, the old insane asylum, and we used to, plan trips to go out there. I've been on abandoned trains. So I was on a train it was from the 1940s, sleeper car, bar car. It was really cool old train. Um, I've done a lot of weird things where, like, not necessarily looking for paranormal, where weird stuff would happen.
Mm. Yeah, Steph, that was over by the Big E where Ghost Adventures was just a couple months ago. They were over at the Stores Town place because our my city councilman called me and says, "Hey, why is Ghost Adventures here?" And I'm like, "Hey, I don't know. I don't care."
Yeah,
But
that's
I've asked to go there, Steph, and they've said no. They have a resident team, and that is it. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes
they
me
want.
believe that that location is not haunted if they're not letting anyone else in to investigate with their own staff. I no longer believe it's haunted.
That's
Mm-hmm.
too bad.
That's a red flag to me.
Yeah, that sucks. They should let people in. Yeah, we
Yeah.
need more people to be
Exactly.
able to debunk. Debunking is very important. So I've done HVAC and electrical work my whole life, so I know when you're getting like normal house noises or a heater kicked on or the boiler or a fridge or you know what I mean. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got to realize a lot of people overreacting to natural stuff, but every once in a while you'll see some stuff out there that you're like, wait a minute, and it just
Absolutely.
can't be easily debunked at all.
Yeah.
Maybe not all paranormal, but
I'll tell you,
that's
if I
very
can't debunk something, I will send it off to somebody.
yeah.
You know, there's things I can't debunk right now with the Oliver House that I'll be sending to Susan and Christina, and if they
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
can't figure it out, then I'll be sending it out to the person who I
like
don't wanna give
really
out too much information because some of the stuff we got, I'm like, "Holy shit, 8 years, and do I
uh,
think we got something?" But
yeah.
debunking
No,
is
keep it for
important.
now and try and show it as it is paranormal, and then go and try and say, okay, this is the possibilities of natural, but we're still
Yeah.
not sure. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I say when you see something that sounds like a duck, swims like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. So you know
Oh,
what I mean?
that was Susan.
That's that's a good. I think it's Occam's razor or something. The simplest explanation is usually the correct one. So then that goes both ways. It can't just be, oh, it's always natural. It can be paranormal, and that's the simplest explanation for some of this stuff.
I
That's how
honestly
I
think
look
in
at
my
it.
8 years, I have not caught anything paranormal yet,
I think I've
but
gotten
I'm
maybe like
questioning it with
5
the
things
Oliver
on
House.
all.
I think now I am questioning it because I really do think I got something at the Oliver
Yeah,
House. I think
Mm-hmm.
we all got something.
don't doubt yourself when you have that type of experience. It's okay to go and look at the natural side, but make sure you keep that hope and actual like interest in it, because you can kill your own overdoing it and kill your own like love of it, which is kind of sad. It happens a
Absolutely.
lot.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, it was an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations to your baby on the way as well.
Yes,
Yes.
thank
It was
Um,
nice talking to you instead of seeing you in
you.
the chat all the
I
time.
know, I know.
Yeah,
So this is actually the person behind,
yeah, me
What a
being
great
weird and
comeback.
saying weird shit.
that's awesome.
Thank you guys so
You're not
much.
weird.
Oh, you're
Stop saying
welcome.
you're weird.
So,
You're not weird.
Ryan, if you wouldn't mind just waiting for us backstage for a couple of minutes, we're just going to wrap up the show.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Don't go
bye.
nowhere.
Well, that was an awesome show.
Yeah, very interesting.
I mean,
he has seen a lot and done a lot.
I could just listen to him for hours.
That's what I'm saying. He needs to do a conspiracy theory page.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would hit.
It would
He's
be
very,
awesome.
very smart guy. I definitely would love to investigate with him.
Yeah,
And
definitely. He needs definitely need to get together with him when he comes down here.
yeah,
Definitely.
great guest picking. I
I
think that was
know. Thank you
the
so
first
much.
guest since I came back. So that
Yeah,
was, yeah,
yeah.
that was cool.
And then in 2 weeks we have Greg.
Yes, that's going. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk because Greg just, I love Greg.
Yeah.
I just, ooh, ooh. If I were to investigate with Greg, you'd be like, Angelina's not doing nothing. He's just focused on Greg. I'm
Oh
excited for
man, oh
that one.
man.
I'm really
Yeah,
excited for that one. So,
yeah.
Greg, if you're watching,
Absolutely.
oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I got all this stuff ready to go. So I'm just going to start on his thumbnail and then, we're going to see him in 2 weeks.
Perfect. And I don't
And
need
I
to do
feel
more
like my
research on
my
him.
my lip is swelling up more. So
So maybe
it's
you
getting
should get fillers.
I don't know. It's like phew, it's out there now.
You really can't tell.
Yeah. Thank
You really, I
God.
mean, when I watch you downstairs on the 50-inch later, if I can tell, I'll hit you up and say, you
Thanks.
really can tell now. But I can't tell. What is on your fingers?
So they're like little like I don't know ring fingers. But they're kind of cool because they have like let me see if I can show them a little bit. They have like little stones and crystals in them. Like
Oh,
one
wow.
is a dragon's head and one is like a gargoyle. So they're pretty cool. I
Hello,
like
Pomp.
them.
This, yeah. Thanks
So
for
yeah, so
stumbling
yeah.
across. That's cool. I'm very interested. Don't ever wear those on investigation.
I can't. I'm just gonna come as me.
Don't wear those. Because what if you bump into me in the dark and then they go right through me and then I'm going to be stuck in that location forever?
Oh man. Oh man. So guys, be
Hi,
sure to
Karen.
follow Ryan on YouTube. I do have his YouTube channel in the banner down below. And be sure to follow us as well. Like, subscribe to our channels. And yeah, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. So be spooky and take care.
We out. Love, peace, and hair grease, my soldiers.